Chapter 9 Inclusive Education. Learning for all with focus on children with disabilities. 9.1 Major goals. All children with disabilities have access to schooling. Improving enrollment, retention and achievements of children with disabilities within the general education system. Providing appropriate and adequate resources to create a conducive and enabling learning environment in schools. Ensuring inclusion and full participation of children with disabilities through appropriate support and services as per their needs and abilities. Abilities. 9.2 Background. India has also been signatory to international declarations like the Salamanca Statement and Framework for Action on Special Needs Education 1994 and Bivako Millennium Framework for Action 2002, and the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities 2006 that emphasize the need for fundamental educational policy shifts to enable general schools to include children with disabilities. The NCF 2005 recommended making the curriculum flexible and appropriate to accommodate the diversity of school children, including those with disabilities in both cognitive and non-cognitive areas. The centrally sponsored scheme of SSA of 2001 had set time-bound targets for the achievements of UEE. With Zero Rejection as its foundation, the program provided support for the inclusion of children with disabilities in general schools at the elementary level. The SSA norms were further strengthened by the RTE Act, 2009, which talks about free and compulsory elementary education to children without any discrimination on the basis of caste, gender, disability etc. While the RTE Act mandates inclusion of CWD, some may be unable to attend school despite specific interventions designed for their education. The amendment of RTE Act in August 2012 has included CWD in the definition of disadvantaged groups. Children with disabilities receive a safe, inclusive, and effective learning environment and are comfortable and inspired to teach and learn in their schools. National Education Policy NEP 2020 Para 5.9 143 PAGA includes children with severe, multiple disabilities with the right to opt for home-based education HBE, thus creating an enabling environment for all children. The Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, 2016 is the disability legislation passed by the Indian Parliament to fulfill its obligation to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which India ratified in 2007. The Act replaced the earlier Persons with Disabilities Equal Opportunities, Protection of Rights and Full Participation Act, 1995. As SSA supported inclusion of children with special needs at the elementary education level, a need was felt for a scheme for the children with disabilities at secondary stage. The IEDSS scheme was, therefore, implemented to enable all children and young persons with disabilities to have access to secondary education and to improve their enrollment, retention and achievement in the general education system. Under the scheme, every school was proposed to be made disabled-friendly. The centrally sponsored IEDSS scheme aimed at enabling all students with disabilities completing 8 years of elementary schooling an opportunity to complete 4 years of secondary schooling classes IX to 12 in an inclusive and enabling environment, and provided educational opportunities and facilities to students with disabilities in the general education system at the secondary level classes IX to 12. The National Education Policy NEP 2020 advocates full equity and inclusion as the cornerstone of education to ensure that all students are able to thrive in the education system. It also underscores within its framework, education of children with special needs in order to ensure equitable, quality schooling. The Samagra Shiksha scheme has also been aligned with the recommendations of NEP 2020 to ensure that all children have access to quality education in an equitable and inclusive classroom environment. Samagra Shiksha aims to look at education of all children including CWD in a continuum from foundational to secondary stage. The scheme will cover all children with disabilities with one or more disabilities as per the Schedule of Disabilities of the Right of the Persons with Disabilities RPWD Act, 2016 studying in government, government-aided and local body schools. 9.3 Target Group. Under Inclusive Education component of Samagra Shiksha, the IE for CWSN component will support children with disabilities as per the scheme will cover all children. Samagra Shiksha aims to look at education of all children including CWD in a continuum from foundational to secondary stage. The scheme will cover all children with disabilities with one or more disabilities as per the Schedule of Disabilities of the Right of the Persons with Disabilities RPWD Act, 2016 studying in government, government-aided and local body schools. 9.3 Target group under Inclusive Education component of Samagra Shiksha. The IE for CWSN component will support children with disabilities as per the Schedule of Disabilities of Rights of Persons with Disabilities RPWD Act 201615 from foundational to secondary stage of schooling in government, government-aided and local body schools. 15 Reference web links 144 PAGA. 9.4 Interventions under Inclusive Education component. The Rights of Persons with Disabilities RPWD ACT, 2016. The RPWD Act, 2016 was enacted on the 28th of December 2016 which came into force from the 19th of April 2017. The salient features of the Act are: I. Responsibility has been cast upon the appropriate governments to take effective measures to ensure that the persons with disabilities enjoy their rights equally with others. E. Disability has been defined based on an evolving and dynamic concept. E. The Act covers the following specified disabilities. 1. Physical disability A. Locomotor disability I. Leprosy cured person E. Cerebral palsy E. Dwarfism IV. Muscular dystrophy V. Acid attack victims B. Visual impairment I. Blindness E. Low vision C. Hearing impairment I. Deaf E. Hard of hearing D. Speech and language disability 2. Intellectual disability A. Specific learning disabilities B. Autism spectrum disorder 3. Mental behavior mental illness 4. Disability caused due to a chronic neurological conditions such as E. Multiple sclerosis E. Parkinson's disease B. Blood disorder E. Hemophilia E. Thalassemia E. Sickle cell disease 5. Multiple disabilities. IV. Additional benefits have been provided for persons with benchmark disabilities and those with high support needs. Every child with benchmark disability between the age group of 6 and 18 years shall have the right to free education. Stress has been given to ensure accessibility in public buildings both government and private in a prescribed time frame. Source: Web links 145 PAGA. The following are the suggestive activities as per norms under IE component. 9.4.1 Student-Oriented Component SOC Recurring Grant. The state and UTs will undertake mapping of requirements of students with special needs and provide support through Individualized Education Plan (IEP) and specific interventions such as providing financial support for transportation, escort, readers, scribes allowances. Learning support for language-appropriate TLMs, textbooks in accessible formats such as Braille, large print and ISL-based videos etc. Age-appropriate reading material, curriculum adaptation and innovative pedagogical practices, including nurturing and enrichment of twice exceptional gifted students. Therapeutic services, occupational therapy, physiotherapy and speech therapy etc. For developing cognitive, socio-emotional skills, behavior management, learning self-regulation and coping skills and parenting support. Devices support, aids and appliances, assistive devices such as walking cane, walker, wheelchair, prosthetics, braille kits, hearing aids, TLM kits, assistive daily living kits and communication equipment etc. Home-based education. Appropriate educational support to be made available for children with severe and multiple disabilities who are unable to go schools. State and UTs shall conduct audit of home-based education for its efficiency and effectiveness. All these interventions will be appraised based on the data of CWD enrollment provided by the state UT under UDISE+. IE for CWSN component. Recurring support. Student-oriented component. Identification and assessment. Stipend for girls. Capacity building. Resource support. Non-recurring support. Equipment for resource centers 146 PAGA. For funding support, for all SOC interventions, funds to be covered within the financial norms as 500 CWD annum. 9.4.2 Identification and Assessment Camps Recurring Grant. Assessment support for identification of disabilities as per RPWD Act 2016. The annual identification camps to be conducted at block level, followed by appropriate educational placement based on the assessment. Funding support, up to Rs. 10,000 block for elementary level. Up to Rs. 10,000 block for secondary level. 9.4.3 Stipend for girls with special needs recurring grant. Girls with disabilities are often educationally underrepresented in school education system. Support of stipend for girls with disabilities to be disbursed via DBT, in order to encourage completion of schooling. This intervention will be appraised based on the data of girls with disabilities enrollment provided by the state UT under UDISE+. Funding support, Rs. 200 per month for 10 months. 9.4.4 Resource support through Special Educators Recurring Grant. Provision of financial support towards honorarium salary of special educators. These educators should mandatorily be available for all CWSN, including the children with high support needs as well. The educators may be posted at the block or cluster level or as per the requirement, and can operate in an itinerant mode, covering a group of schools where children with special needs are enrolled so that each child with special need is adequately covered. Financial support restricted as per financial norms for special educators at elementary and secondary level respectively. Financial assistance will be provided for salaries of special educators. The central share under the scheme will be restricted as per the norms of the scheme in prevalent fund sharing pattern. There will be no separate cadre of special educators sanctioned by the center. All special educators are ultimately the responsibility of the state. Funding support, or special educators teaching foundational and preparatory stage up to primary level up to Rs. 15,000 per month. Or special educators teaching middle stage upper primary up to Rs. 20,000 per month. Or special educators teaching secondary stage secondary and senior secondary level up to Rs. 25,000 per month. 147 PAGA. 9.4.5 Capacity building of special educators recurring grant. Intensive in-service teacher education capacity building programs will be undertaken to sensitize and build capacity of the general teachers and resource teachers on meeting learning needs to provide quality education to CWD and improve their learning outcomes. This teacher education program will be recurrent at block cluster levels and in diets and other institutions. Teacher education modules at SCERT, diet and BRC level should include suitable components on education of children with disabilities. In-service training programs for BRPs for CWSN special educators on areas of inclusive education, cross-disability teaching and early identification etc. to be accorded priority. Capacity building of special educators would be with a special focus on cross-disability areas and be appraised as per prevalent in-service training norms for general teachers and based on the data special educators in position provided by the state UT. Funding support, up to Rs. 500 per day, special educator up to 10 days. 9.4.6 Equipment for resource centers non-recurring. Resource centers at block level function as a setting for children with disabilities to receive individualized support for CWD as per their unique learning needs. These centers function as the mainstay wherein differentiated and adapted programs are designed and delivered for remedial, initialized or group instructions, parent-teacher meetings, therapy and counseling sessions etc. so as to provide high-quality learning support. Equipment for remedial, individualized and group teaching, therapy and counseling sessions exclusively are essential to meet the unique learning needs of CWD. BRCs may be strengthened with equipment such as therapeutic kits and equipment, exercise balls, parallel bars, adjustable walker, physiotherapy mattress, prosthetics, dexterity peg boards, CP chair, ball pit, tube swing, audiometry equipment and mobility cane etc. For remedial and group teaching TLMs, accessible and appropriate high-quality teaching learning materials for reading and writing corners, board games, workbooks, Play-Doh, puppets, toys, sensory table, musical instruments, TLM kits, guidance manuals for caregivers as well as customized TLM kits for CWD in home-based education etc. For assessment tools and certification kits, checklists, psychological tests, and screening tools etc. For communication tools and devices, charts, flashcards on signing and Indian Sign Language ISL dictionary, communication boards, talking books, braille kits etc. 148 PAGA. State and UTs may consider equipment and materials in line with the local cultural practices. As per the child's IEP, the individual learning needs are supported in resource rooms. Resource centers to be augmented with relevant equipment to cater to all CWD. The detailed guidelines for the same will be prepared and disseminated to all state and UTs for contextualization. This intervention will be appraised based on the data of BRCs provided by the state UT under UDISE+. Funding support, up to Rs. 2.0 lakh BRC once in 5 years non-recurring grant. Co-management, monitoring, media, evaluation and research MMMER. State and UTs may submit plans for management, monitoring, media, evaluation and research activities for inclusive education through I. Awareness, advocacy and outreach plans. State and UTs may prepare an annual calendar of IEC activities covering important days related to disabilities and inclusive education, engaging all stakeholders by developing and disseminating IEC material such as infographics, school-to-parent communication material, state UT to teachers school communication material, etc. E. Research and collaboration. The research activities studies impact analysis of interventions related to inclusive education conducted by SCERTs, DIETs or any other agency. E. Knowledge management and resource sharing. State and UTs may prepare annual plan of action for collaboration and convergence for knowledge sharing and research. O. Innovation for inclusive education. State-specific projects on inclusive education such as development of resource repository in local language, virtual learning resource centers, etc. The support to implement the same to be covered through innovation projects quality component. Documentation of good practices. The Shagun Repository 16 of good practices focuses on positive stories and developments that are driving performance improvements in school education. These practices portray the individual and collective efforts that have enabled significant changes for the better. The portal is a platform where the state and UTs can see the innovations, best practices pursued by others and emulate the same to achieve similar results. These innovative practices are documented in the form of case studies, videos, testimonials and images. All state and UTs may upload the best practices regularly on this platform on learning of children with disabilities and the best initiatives being undertaken for inclusive education. 16 Shagun Repository Web Links 149 PAGA. Convergence. All state and UTs should focus on working in convergence with all the line departments ministries in order to provide relevant holistic support for effective and appropriate services for education of CWD in general schools. 9.4.7 In addition to the above, state and UTs may undertake following activities to create a better learning environment for CWD. Inclusive education for children with disabilities. The key thrust of the program will be on providing inclusive education to all children with disabilities in general schools, covering support for CWD, so that no child loses any opportunities to learn and excel. Ensure participation of all in schooling process. State and UTs shall strive that all children with disabilities are enrolled in schools and are able to fully participate in general schooling process and realize their best potential. All efforts to be made for functional inclusion of children with special needs in such a way that they are able to learn together with other children and learning is suitably adapted to meet the different learning needs of CWD and ensure their smooth transition across classes. Making learning possible through all means. Program will support children with disabilities through all means including home-based education for CWD with severe and multiple disabilities, wherever necessary, itinerant teaching, individualized teaching and community-based rehabilitation, CBR. Home-based education. State and UTs will ensure that appropriate educational support is made available for children with severe and multiple disabilities who are unable to go schools. State and UTs shall conduct audit of home-based education for its efficiency and effectiveness. Focus on girls with disabilities. State and UTs to ensure special focus on girls with disabilities by creating opportunities for access to education, participation in schooling process, other activities and facilitating their attention in school and improving their transition. Special educators resource support. State and UTs shall appoint special educators to provide support to CWD and general teachers at school cluster level as per requirement. All special educators to be registered with the Rehabilitation Council of India RCI. Special educators will be recruited 17 as per the terms and conditions of the respective states' UTs. Salary structure will be determined by the state norms for salaries. For special educators' salaries, the central share under the scheme for posts sanctioned by the centre under erstwhile schemes of SSI. 17 Reference RCI Model Recruitment Rules Web Links. Disability Days related events in schools. State and UTs may consider, black small square calendar for events related to 21 disabilities may be prepared. Black small square content for dissemination on the days related to disabilities also to be prepared. 150 PAGA. And RMSA will be restricted as per the prevalent fund sharing pattern. There will be no separate cadre of special educators sanctioned by the centre. All special educators are ultimately the responsibility of the state. With regard to the pupil-teacher ratio for children with special needs, Hanbal Supreme Court has ordered in the matter of WP No. 132 of 2016 titled, Rajneesh Kumar Pandey and Oz. vs. Union of India and Oz. Regarding special education. To implement the order, the norms and standards of pupil-teacher ratio (PTR) for special schools and also separate norms for special teachers who alone can impart education and training to CWSN in the general schools, as recommended by Rehabilitation Council of India (RCI) Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities Department Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, have been accepted by the department. The letter dated the 10th of June 2022 regarding the same for compliance by all state and UTs is placed at Annexure V. Capacity building of school functionaries. State and UTs will build capacities of head teachers, teachers and special educators across all levels with a special focus on the additional disabilities as per RPWD Act 2016 like dwarfism, specific learning disabilities SLD and chronic neurological conditions etc. State and UTs will draw an annual capacity building plan including the trainings, exposure visits, exchange programs, continuous professional development, 50 hours CPD etc. By engaging all stakeholders. State and UTs shall prepare customized modules based on training needs identified. Enabling inclusive environment in school, state and UTs will ensure the full participation of CWD in schools by ensuring inclusive classrooms, accessible learning resources, innovative pedagogical practices, and creating enabling opportunities for participation. Improve retention and transition. State and UTs shall make all efforts to improve retention, transition of CWD by notification of exam accommodations 18 as per RPWD Act 2016. School Inclusion Index. State and UTs shall undertake an accessibility audit through the Index for Developing Inclusive Schools 19 prepared by NCERT in all schools whereby state and UTs shall carry out annual exercise of self-assessment on inclusive practices in schools. Strengthening of Block Resource Center (BRC). State and UTs will strengthen BRCs with online-offline facilities to support all CWSN including children with severe or multiple disabilities. Focus at foundational stage. State and UTs must focus on school preparation and acquiring the foundational literacy and numeracy skills for CWD through Vidya Pravesh and Nipan Bharat activities. 18 Reference, CBSE Examination Accommodations Circular Web Links and Deponed Written Examination Guidelines, Web Links 19 Reference, Index for Developing Inclusive Schools Web Links 151 PAGA. Promoting community participation. State and UTs will make all efforts to promote awareness amongst all stakeholders including parents, teachers, SMC members, community and local body institutions through Vidyanjali. Availability of contents on Diksha, a separate vertical for CWD, with the recommendations of NEP 2020 on creating an inclusive learning atmosphere for CWD, a new vertical dedicated to provide quality teaching and learning material based on UDL principles, will be developed on Diksha 20, with the aim to provide educational resources at one click. The objective of this vertical would be to provide the learners, parents, teachers and other stakeholders in the area of CWD education the necessary content and educational resources at one place. The entire initiative of inclusive education vertical on Diksha is specially focused on school education. State and UTs may prioritize developing contents including video audio content and gamified content and quizzes to host surveys for information related to CWD to be conducted through Diksha. The same may also be developed in local vernacular languages as per the learning requirements of disabilities as per RPWD Act 2016 and uploaded on the platform. Teacher training modules on awareness and capacity building for inclusive education can also uploaded on this platform. Development of content. State and UTs may prepare content suitably prepared adapted for children with disabilities 21. Screening and identification. For providing support to the learning of children with disabilities, focus will be on early identification and support. Database. State and UTs may prepare mapping of database for analyzing grade-wise transition and retention of each CWSN and prepare plan of action to provide appropriate support. 9.5 Monitoring mechanism. Ongoing monitoring and evaluation should be carried out to refine the program from time to time. 9.5.1 National level. Enrollment of children with disabilities in general schools through home-based education wherever appropriate at the foundational, preparatory, middle, secondary stages for harmonized guidelines and standards for universal accessibility 22. Accessibility audit availability of barrier-free and suitable infrastructure facilities in schools, BRCs and CRCs etc. including websites and digital portals. 20 Diksha Portal, Web Links 21 Guidelines for development of content for CWD Web Links 06 Content_Guidelines. PDF 22 Source, Web Links 152 PAGA. Preparation of school development plans by SMCs SMDCs to ensure that schools have all facilities such as access to barrier-free infrastructure and resource centers, full participation in all school activities and social inclusion etc. Issues of children with disabilities amongst other SEDG groups based on geographical, gender identities and socio-economic conditions etc. Addressed by state and UTs during implementation. Periodical review of physical and financial progress of the component through PRABANDH portal. Review meetings at national, regional, state, UT specific level based on UDISE Plus and PGI data and NAS reports etc. Impact assessment of interventions for CWDs approved under Samagra Siksha by RISE. Best practices uploaded on Shagun portal. 9.5.2 State and UT level. State and UT level quarterly review meetings with state and UT coordinators. Quarterly physical and financial progress reviews cross interventions and components such as civil works for barrier-free infrastructure, quality component for RTE entitlements of Braille and large print books and teacher education component regarding resource persons for CWSN at BRCs etc. Reports of visits by BRCs and CRCs at regular intervals for monitoring the progress of the interventions. Impact assessment of interventions for CWD approved under Samagra Siksha by SCERTs and RISE. Action research by SCERTs and diets on areas of disability, FLN for CWD and inclusive education specifically on additional disabilities scheduled as per the RPWD Act, 2016. 9.6 Expected outcomes. Increase in enrollment of CWD across all stages of schooling. Improvement in transition and retention rates from foundational to secondary stage. School heads, teachers and special educators will be able to create an enabling learning environment wherein every child regardless of disability will be able to learn as per his needs and abilities. Infrastructure of the schools and BRCs will be improved for providing support to CWD. Increase in number of CWD who complete schooling. ******* 153 PAGA. Chapter 10. Strengthening of teacher education. 10.1 Major goals. Strengthening of physical infrastructure in TEIs and establishment of new diets for providing high-quality teacher education that enables all teachers to achieve National Professional Standards for Teachers (NPST). To strengthen and expand Diksha, a technology-based educational platform, to serve as national repository of high-quality resources content for teaching and learning as well as for the capacity building of teachers and teacher educators. In-service training of teachers, head teachers and teacher educators for their professional and self-development. Supporting program and activities of SCERT, such that SCERT's leader, change management process, for the reinvigoration, capacity building and changing the work culture of diets BRCs, CRCs within 3 years, developing them into vibrant institutions of excellence. Technology support to TEIs to empower them to effectively and efficiently carry forward the mandate of quality teachers' education, research, and development of state curriculum frameworks in the area of school education, teacher education, EK and adult education, school curriculum, syllabus and textbooks with local flavor, TLM, other online and offline resources for school education. Continuous and relevant academic support to head teachers, schools through BRC, URC, CRC. Building capacity of SCERTs for implementing pre-vocational education, 10 Bagless Days internship in the area of vocational education EK, Nipan Bharat Mission on Foundational Literacy and Numeracy, Adult Education, etc. Up to the grassroots level. 10.2 Historical perspective. The earliest policy formulations emphasized the need for teacher education to be brought into the mainstream of the academic life of the universities on the one hand and of school life and educational developments on the other. Kothari Commission, 1964-66. Subsequently, while observing that what obtains in T0 majority of our teaching colleges and training institutes is woefully inadequate, the Chattopadhyay Committee Report 1983-85 reiterated the need to enable general and professional education to be pursued concurrently, and emphasized that an integrated 4-year program should be developed carefully, while also making it possible for some of the existing colleges of science and arts to introduce an education department along with their other programs, allowing for a section of their students to opt for teacher education. National Policy on Education (NPE) 1986 recognized the need for enhancing the status of teachers. It emphasized the need for substantial improvement in their working conditions and the quality of teacher education. The policy called for overhauling the Teacher Education 154 PAGA system and as a first step recommended the following: teacher education as a continuum in its pre-service and in-service components are inseparable. District Institute of Education and Training (DIETS) be established with the capability to organize pre-service and in-service courses for elementary school teachers and the personnel working in non-formal adult education sectors. At the national level, the National Council of Teacher Education (NCTE) be established, which will have the power to accredit institution of teacher education, phase out the substandard institutions, provide guidance regarding curricula and methods. Networking arrangements are created between institutions of teacher education and University Department of Education. 10.3 Background. The centrally sponsored scheme of restructuring and reorganization of teacher education was initiated in 1987 pursuant to the formulation of the National Policy on Education (NPE) 1986. It emphasized the significance and need for a decentralized system for the professional preparation of teachers, and in this context, the District Institute of Teacher Education (DIET), College of Teacher Education (CTE), and Institute of Advanced Studies in Education (IASE) were established. The scheme was revised for the 12th plan to meet the exceptional challenges for the teacher education system arising from the massive spatial and numerical expansion of schooling facilities at the elementary and secondary level and corresponding increase in the demand for teachers. Modification of the scheme was also critical in the context of the policy decision for universalization of secondary education. The revised scheme was formulated in pursuance of the RTE Rules 2010 under Section 38 of the RTE Act, notified on 8 April 2010. Subsequently, the revised guideline for restructuring and reorganizing of the CSSTE was developed and issued in June 2012. Subsequently, a new scheme, Samagra Shiksha, came into effect from 1 April 2018. It is an integrated scheme of school education formulated by subsuming the existing centrally sponsored schemes of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan (SSA), Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan (RMSA), and Teacher Education (CSSTE). One of the major objectives of Samagra Shiksha is strengthening and upgradation of State Councils of Educational Research and Training (SCERTs), State Institutes of Education (CS), and District Institutes of Education and Training (DIETS) as nodal agencies for teacher training. With the end of the 14th Finance Commission cycle and commencement of the 15th Finance Commission, the integrated scheme of Samagra Shiksha was evaluated by the NITI Aayog in the year 2020, and the following are some of the major recommendations with respect to teacher education. The scheme should leverage support from Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching (PMMMNMTT) specifically for faculty development. DIETS should be strengthened by establishing formal linkages with local colleges, thus creating a multidisciplinary environment for teacher education, both at pre-service and in 155 PAGA service level. Emphasizing use of online training material and portals such as Diksha by creating archive of updated training material, credit-based annual plan for each level of teacher, educators and heads of schools, and its concurrence with teachers' performance appraisal. Provisioning for research through model TEIs across each district. Opportunities should also be provided to other TEIs based on proposal made for research. Continuing to operate with SCERT as an apex organization having key responsibilities at the state level with appropriate linkages with and support from national level, such as MHRD, NCTE, NCERT, NIEPA, NIOS/etc. The National Education Policy 2020 emphasizes that the teacher must be at the center of the fundamental reforms in the education system. Accordingly, it accentuates that the high respect for teachers and the high status of the teaching profession must be restored so as to inspire the best to enter the teaching profession. Further, teacher eligibility tests (TETs) will be strengthened to inculcate better test material and extended to cover teachers across all stages: foundational, preparatory, middle and secondary of school education. Likewise, teacher education is vital in creating a pool of school teachers that will shape the next generation. In this regard, NEP 2020 also stresses that academic matters, including academic standards and curricula in the state, will be led by the SCERT with close consultation and collaboration with the NCERT, which will be reinvigorated as an institution. Furthermore, as recognized by the NEP, the teachers will require training in high-quality content as well as pedagogy, for which a renewed emphasis has been given on strengthening of teacher education institutions i.e., SCERTs, diets etc. The major focus areas under strengthening of teacher education component under Samagra Shiksha are 10.4 State Councils for Educational Research and Training SCERTs. 10.4.1 Introduction. State Institutes of Education (CS) were established in mid-60s for qualitative improvement of elementary education. Subsequently, in course of time, state institutes agencies were also set up in some states to provide academic support to school education in areas of growing importance like science education, educational technology, English language teaching, etc. and specific areas of concern like examination reform, evaluation, educational and vocational guidance, etc. At present, there are 31 SCERTs and 1 Z Andaman and Nicobar Island in the country. The Union Territories of Daman and Diu and Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Ladakh, Lakshadweep and Puducherry do not have either an SCERT or Z. The functions related to SCERTs in these Union Territories are performed by State Departments of Education diets. 10.4.2 Roles and Functions of SCERT. The SCERTs were originally visualized to become centers of excellence in the field of elementary education. Their functions included organization of in-service training programs for teachers and supervisory personnel, conduct of conferences and seminars for senior 156 PAGA officers district level and above of Education Department. Over the years, the role of SCERTs as a state resource institution has expanded to provide academic support at all stages of education, undertake coordination of all academic matters relating to school education, maintain appropriate linkages with other educational organizations and provide supervision support to the district and sub-district level institutions. Other major functions of the SCERTs include development of curriculum, instructional material, textbooks, conduct research programs, provide guidance and support to State Department of Education and provide supplementary materials to address the need of all children including children with special needs and teachers. Further, SCERTs are also expected to perform a variety of roles for the national level institutions such as NCERT, NIEPA and NCTE, in the conduct of state-level studies and surveys, as well as take the lead in some major national initiatives such as Digital Drive, Skill India and Clean India, in collaboration with other state-level institutions working in the area. With the implementation of the NEP 2020, the role of the SCERT has increased manifold. The foremost mandate of the SCERT is the development of the state curriculum frameworks with local contextualization for early childhood care and education aka school education, teacher education and adult education a. Subsequently, with the development of the national curriculum frameworks for aka, say, TNA by the NCERT, SCERTs will set up syllabus and textbook development teams to work on ensuring the reduction of curriculum content in each subject to its core essentials, to make space for critical thinking and more holistic, discovery-based, discussion-based, and analysis-based learning. Other key tasks of the SCERT as the academic authority in the state UT includes development of online and blended teachers training modules, development of content resources for all grades on Diksha, strategic planning and implementation of reinvigoration of BRCs, CRCs and diets, translation of textbooks in home language mother tongue, Nishtha modules in local languages for alternate forms of schools, etc. Accordingly, the major roles and core functions of the SCERT can be classified under the following broad heads. Academic Authority US 29 of the RTE Act. Under Section 29(1) of the RTE Act, the state government has to appoint an academic authority to lay down the curriculum and evaluation procedure for continuous evaluation of learning outcomes which would be followed by all schools at the elementary level. Given their existing mandate, most of the states have notified the SCERTs as the academic authority to perform this function. Besides, the SCERT needs to work with State Commission of Protection of Child Right guiding them academically on the concerns of protection of child's rights, children from corporal punishment and other kinds of harassment, inclusion of third gender in schools, etc. State Curriculum Framework. The SCERT has been mandated to develop the State Curriculum Framework SCF for early childhood care and education, school education, teacher education and adult education. While preparing the State Curricular Framework (SCF), the SCERT may look into innovative methods, ways of offering flexibility in choice of subjects and incorporating semester system that allows the inclusion of shorter modules or courses that are taught on alternate days, etc. Syllabus and textbook development. States will require to prepare their own curricula based on the NCFSE of NCERT to the extent possible and prepare textbooks based on the NCERT textbook materials to the extent possible, incorporating state flavor and 157 PAGA. Material is needed. The SCERT will set up syllabus and textbook development teams to work on ensuring the reduction of curriculum content in each subject to its core essentials, to make space for critical thinking and more holistic, discovery-based, discussion-based, and analysis-based learning. The SCERT will also ensure that knowledge of India is incorporated wherever relevant in an accurate and scientific manner. Under this, concerted efforts will be made by the SCERT, through suitable changes in curriculum and pedagogy, to significantly reduce the weight of school bags and textbooks. Developing a culture of research. One of the operational principles as per SART HAQ implementation plan for NEP 2020 is knowledge creation and its application is integral to the enterprise of education. Thus, with high-quality research and research mindset becoming the core to our education system, the SCERT and its institutions will strive towards developing a culture of research. The following are some basic criteria for conducting research and evaluation activities. A. Defining clear, coherent and effective student learning indicators outcomes in order to establish clarity at all levels of state administrative and academic machinery. B. Developing effective evaluation processes to empower the State Education Department to assess educational outcomes in various forms, including but not limited to student achievement, teacher performance and teacher-educator performance. C. Indicators can be developed for students, teachers, clusters, blocks and districts to continuously monitor and evaluate the success of the initiatives of the SCERT. D. Undertaking contextual and academically rigorous research projects which will inform the policy-making process of the State Education Department. Synergy with DIETS. As part of the change management process, the SCERT would need to develop an institution-wise action plan which would include, among others, capacity building, norms for recruitment, deputation, functions, roles and responsibilities, IT-based solutions for administration, planning, governance of these institutions. SCERT will also take a more leading role in the monitoring, mentoring and capacity building of DIETS. This would include designing a mandatory rigorous induction program for all new DIET principals and designing and facilitating their continuous professional development. In addition, the SCERTs will work closely with DIETS at a macro level to ensure overall quality in teaching, quality of curriculum, assessment, overall teacher education, coordination of quality and new programs, overall technology in education, school leadership, etc. At the same time, it will also be responsible for undertaking research projects in collaboration with DIETS to inform state and central policy. Social equity through education. The SCERTs need to drive equity interventions in the state, working towards building social equity across all facets of education, specifically in textbooks, training, design and implementation, and implicit educational practices within the classroom and school in more focused way. Faculty and staff across all departments should be empowered to reflect and work on understanding, analyzing and addressing intersectional issues arising due to caste, gender, and religious inequities, addressing the needs of children with special needs, eliminating the spate of dropouts from schools by undertaking relevant programs. Community and Children's Outreach. Community and Children's Outreach program and network keeps the SCERTs rooted to the experience and issues at the ground level. SCERTs and DIETS should have a system for more frequent interacting with children in place. 158 PAGA. Interdisciplinary coordination. The SCERT should be the nodal agency in the state and establish proper coordination and collaboration with various statutory bodies like Board of Textbooks, Board of Secondary Education and Board of Elementary Education. The SCERT as the academic authority has the responsibility of developing learning outcomes, appropriate teaching learning materials, and modules for teacher preparation, etc. There is a need for a comprehensive understanding in each discipline. These include, for example, mathematics, science, Hindi, second language and third language, social study teaching, etc. These groups should be constituted by involving faculty from SCERT, CTEs, IASEs and DIETS. Each SCERT must have at least a few groups working in developing new understanding that can be shared with other states as well as NCERT and other national bodies. Annual and Perspective Plan. The SCERT is expected to prepare a 5-year perspective plan as well as annual work plans. The PAB would approve the plan for the strengthening of the SCERT, based on specific proposals received from the state government, including physical and financial estimates. States which have a State Institute of Education (SIE) would also be eligible for this provision. However, they would need to upgrade the SIE in a full-fledged SCERT as per the MO Guideline on Strengthening of SCERTs 2018. Continuous Professional Development for Teachers. The SCERT is the nodal agency for teacher training, would create avenues for professional programs and prepare professional training modules and manuals in collaboration with the NCERT. It will also encourage the use of technology platforms such as Swayam Diksha for online training of teachers so that standardized need-based training programs can be provided to large numbers of teachers within a short span of time. The National Initiative for School Heads and Teachers Holistic Advancement (NISHTHA) is an integrated teacher training program which was initiated in 2019 covering teachers and school heads at the elementary level. In view of the pandemic, NISHTHA Online was created by customizing modules for online delivery in the format compatible with Diksha portal, and now it has been extended to the secondary and senior secondary level. A specialized NISHTHA on foundational literacy and numeracy has also been initiated for teachers at the primary level. Pre-vocational education. NEP 2020 emphasizes upon providing vocational exposure to all children from class 6 to 8 by integrating it in the curriculum. In this context, NEP 2020 also recommends bagless days and internships. In view of building capacity of the schools to smoothly implement these recommendations of the policy, SCERT has to play an important role. It needs to come out with contextual frameworks for the internship in the area of pre-vocational education for schools situated in different areas. SCERT also needs to handhold school principals and teachers for the actual implementation in the school. SCERTs need to be the nodal academic authority for pre-primary education (ECE). As per the recommendations of NEP 2020, SCERT would be developing state curriculum framework for ECE with local contextualization. The local contextualization will include mapping of indigenous toys and indigenous games, puppetry, art, stories, poetry, songs, etc. in the ECE curriculum, and mechanisms for bridging the gaps that exist between the language spoken by the child and the medium of teaching. All state departments providing pre-primary education like WCD, ICDS department etc. need to work in close collaboration with SCERT to develop pre-primary curriculum and training support. SCERT need to develop a monitoring system for school readiness for children entering into the primary level and also adopt school preparation modules Vidya Pravesh for them. National Professional Standards for Teachers (NPST), a common guiding set of 159 PAGA. National Professional Standards for Teachers (NPST) will be developed by the National Council for Teacher Education in consultation with NCERT, SCERTs, teachers from across levels and regions, expert organizations in teacher preparation and development, expert bodies in vocational education, and higher education institutions. The standards would cover expectations of the role of the teacher at different levels of expertise stage and the competencies required for that stage. The NPST will be adopted by all state MUTs through the SCERTs. Adult Education. NCERT will set up a constituent body dedicated to adult education within the organization. This constituent body of NCERT on adult education will review and revise current curricula for adult education and develop a national curriculum framework for adult education (NCFAE). It will also delineate clear and measurable learning outcomes for functional literacy on which adult learners can be assessed. States (UTs) will create a constituent body within the SCERTs to look after implementation of adult education and to prepare resources for implementing the program. Promoting experiential learning, integrating sports, arts, health, toy-based pedagogy. Innovative pedagogies such as toy-based pedagogy and activity-based learning will be promoted to ensure joyful and non-discriminatory environment in the classroom. Accordingly, in-service teacher training would also include training for teachers on art-integrated, sport-integrated, storytelling, and experiential and toy-based pedagogies. SCERTs are expected to develop contextualized modules in the area of experiential learning. Holistic Progress Card (HPC). The NEP 2020 recommends reforms in the area of assessment focusing on holistic assessment and holistic progress card. SCERT would facilitate the development of an app-based rubrics for holistic progress card to focus on knowledge, competencies, skills, attitudes, values, etc. and AI-based analysis. This will utilize the national-level HPC prepared by CBSE and NCERT as the basis of developing the state UT-level HPC in the local language. Further, the HPC should be such that the teacher has to fill it up at least thrice in a year. SCERT has to plan continuous support program for the schools in the state involving diets for the tracking of holistic progress of learning outcomes of children. Nipan Bharat Foundational Literacy and Numeracy Mission. Under the Nipan Bharat, the SCERTs have been entrusted with the responsibilities of designing and development adaptation of curriculum, instructional designs, capacity building of teachers and academic resource persons, developing locally contextualized teaching learning materials, extensive capacity building of teachers, development of training modules and other resources for teachers in local language. At the same time, additional learning material for foundational stage, that is engaging, joyful and innovative, would also need to be developed with special emphasis on local context by involving local experts. Developing guidelines as enablers. Guidelines could be also developed to prepare an enabling environment for implementing innovative methods of teaching and learning. One such example is the PRAGYATA guidelines, which have been developed with a focus on the methodology, time spent, etc. for online blended digital education for students who are presently at home due to the closure of schools. Further, the guidelines for development of content for CWSN provides access to learning resources, anytime, anywhere. School safety and security is another important area under this. SCERTs are expected not only to contextualize these guidelines for different stakeholders in the state but also to develop framework and guidelines on the concerns in education raised time to time and also on the 160 PAGA policy recommendations as well as for their implementation up to the grassroots level. School Quality Assurance and Accreditation Framework SQAAF. SCERT will develop School Quality Assurance and Accreditation Framework SQAAF through wide consultation with all stakeholders for setting academic standards and curricula in the state UT. The SCERT will also lead a change management process for the reinvigoration of CRCs, BRCs, and diets which must change the capacity and work culture of these institutions in 3 years, developing them into vibrant institutions of excellence. 10.4.3 Strengthening and restructuring of SCERTs. 10.4.3.1 Given the expansion of school education in last decade after the implementation of the RTE Act 2009 and now NEP 2020, it has become all the more important to strengthen SCERTs through analysis of its strengths and weaknesses to address the gaps within the institution and in its linkages with other institutions. The Ministry of Education had come a guideline for strengthening of SCERTs in 2018 wherein given the wider role of SCERTs for curriculum and textbook development across the stages infusing concerns of inclusion and maintaining linkages, models for restructuring are proposed including relevant and adequate divisions, departments and faculty positions. Further, due to variation in the population in different states and their requirement accordingly, 2 models for restructuring have been suggested for the state and UTs as per the population as per Census 2011. Model I is for those states which have population above 1 crore and Model 2 is for those state and UTs which have population 1 crore or below. These 2 models vary in terms of number of faculty members proposed for different divisions and physical infrastructure. Both the models include organization structure with 5 major divisions including departments within the division and faculty positions are proposed. Accordingly, a total 21 state UTs with population above 1 crore as per the Census 2011 come under Model I, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Bihar, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, Karnataka, Gujarat, Odisha, Kerala, Jharkhand, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Assam, Punjab, Chhattisgarh, Haryana, Delhi, Jammu and Kashmir and Uttarakhand. While a total 15 states UTs with population 1 crore and below as per the Census 2011 come under Model 2 i.e., Himachal Pradesh, Tripura, Meghalaya, Manipur, Nagaland, Goa, Arunachal Pradesh, Puducherry, Mizoram, Chandigarh, Sikkim, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu, Lakshadweep and Ladakh. Table 1a. The proposed organizational structure Model 1 population above 1 crore as per Census 2011. Name of division, department, faculty designation, total faculty number. Details of faculty foundational and preparatory. Details of faculty middle and secondary. Director SCERT 1 Professor 1 JT. Director 1 Joint Director. Academic Professor 1. Division of Curriculum Research and Development. 1 HOD Professor 1. Maths and Science 3 Associate Professors 4 Assistant Professors 7 2 Faculty 1 for Environmental Studies 1 for Maths 5 Faculty 3 for Physics, Chemistry, Biology 1 for Maths Social Sciences 1 Associate Professor 4 Faculty 161 PAGA Name of Division Department Faculty Designation Total Faculty Number Details of Faculty Foundational and Preparatory Details of Faculty Middle and Secondary 3 Assistant Professors 1 each for History, Political Science, Geography Economics Depth of Language 2 Associate Professors 4 Assistant Professors 6 2 Faculty 1 for Hindi 1 for English 4 Faculty 1 each for Hindi, English, 2 for Regional Languages Depth of Commerce Studies 1 Assistant Professor 1 Faculty 1 for Accountancy and Business Studies Depth of Art Education 1 Associate Professor 1 Assistant Professors 2 Faculty 1 for Visual Arts and 1 for Performing Arts Depth of Work Experience and Vocational Education 1 Associate Professor 1 Assistant Professor 2 Faculty for Priority Trades based on state context and also for work experience Depth of Health and Physical Education 1 Associate Professor 1 Faculty 1 for Health and Physical Education Population Education Depth of Inclusive and Special Education 1 Associate Professor 1 Assistant Professor 2 1 Faculty each with specialization in curriculum development and inclusive pedagogy for children with learning and physical disabilities 1 Faculty specialization in addressing intersectional issues across caste, gender, religious inequities Depth of Pre-Primary EK as per NEP 2020 2 Assistant Professors 2 Faculty each specializing in EK Primary Curriculum and Pedagogy Division of Educational Research, Survey and Assessment 1 HOD Professor 1 Associate Professor 1 Assistant Professor 2 Faculty 1 specializing in Quantitative Research and Learning Assessments and 1 specializing in Qualitative Research Division of Teacher Education 1 HOD Professor 2 Associate Professors 2 Assistant Professors 4 Faculty 3 for Pre-Service Education, Philosophy, Sociology, Psychology and 1 for In-Service Education Department of Leadership and Management 1 Associate Professor 1 Assistant Professor 2 Faculty each with specialization in School Leadership, Management and Community Engagement, School Management Committees Division of ICT 1 HOD Professor 1 Associate Professor 1 Assistant Professors 2 Faculty 1 for CAL ICT for Student Learning Integration of ICT in Teaching Learning and 1 for ICT Initiatives Diksha, etc. Division of Program and Monitoring 1 HOD Professor 1 Associate Professor 1 Faculty specialized in Educational Planning Academic Post 45 Library and Documentation Cell 1 Librarian 1 Assistant Librarian 1 Professional Assistants 3 Faculty 1 Librarian 1 Assistant Librarian 2 Professional Assistants Administrative Division 7 Staff 3 Administrative Officers 1 Deputy Controller of Accounts DCA 1 Publications Officer 2 Editor Assistant Editor Technical Staff 5 Staff 2 Professional Assistant for Library and Documentation Division 162 PAGA Name of Division Department Faculty Designation Total Faculty Number Details of Faculty Foundational and Preparatory Details of Faculty Middle and Secondary 3 Technical Staff for different departments Computer Assistant, Semi-Professional Assistant, Laboratory Assistant Project Staff 6 Staff Project Fellows and/or Consultants on contractual basis for 2 years Table 1B The proposed organizational structure Model 2 Population 1 crore or below as per Census 2011 Name of Division Department Faculty Designation Total Faculty Number Details of Faculty Foundational and Preparatory Details of Faculty Middle and Secondary Director, SCERT 1 Professor 1 JT and/or Consultants on contractual basis for 2 years 10.4.3.2 SCERT being the academic authority, is ultimately responsible for ensuring that quality at all levels of school education is provided in an equitable and inclusive manner. In order to ensure this, SCERT should be responsible for setting up the benchmarks for quality educational outcomes across all levels, based on the findings of national and international research study on quality improvement. They should also be equipped and alert in making changes in these benchmarks from time to time as required. For strengthening of the SCERTs, the following are some major recommendations. SCERTs need to function as autonomous institutions. To act as autonomous bodies, SCERTs could get registered under the Societies Act 1960 for generating funds to support academic and technical requirement of the SCERTs. Financial autonomy must lie within the institution rather than the entire accountability being directed to the organizations from which the grants are received. In consonance with providing autonomy, an accountability framework for SCERTs may be put in place by the state government. Training Management System TMS and professional development record for teachers is required at every district to be able to consolidate and track various professional development activities across the cluster, block and district and even at the state and national levels, provided by different agencies, all directed at teachers. The TMS could be built on the information available in the State Education MIS to address planning issues pertaining to in-service teacher training. This system should manage and track the trainings for every teacher to ensure that there is a rational, efficient way to allocate called the 164 PAGA. Right teachers for the right training and to track the trainings received. In the future, efforts could be made to align this to the effectiveness of teacher trainings on students' learning outcomes. The digital infrastructure for school education, Diksha, is available for state integration and adoption, to further improve the effectiveness of teacher education data systems across the state and UTs. It is proposed that SCERT be designated as the nodal body for integrating the monitoring, adoption and outreach of all related portals effectively across the state. Quality academic initiatives. It is proposed that the entire fund flow for in-service training education, administrators training, curriculum development and research up to senior secondary level would be routed through the SCERT in such a manner that entire budgeting, accounting and utilization of such funds will become the responsibility of SCERT. The planning, design and implementation of these components should be led by SCERT, and the state may allocate additional funds and may source funds from CSR PPP models. In addition, pre-vocational education, foundational literacy and numeracy, and innovative activities such as bagless days and internship are other focus areas. Regulatory mechanism for CSO interventions. Each state has several CSOs running their interventions to improve various aspects in education. Understandably, these CSOs have their own vision, agenda and capacities based on their priorities and interest areas. In order to best utilize the expertise as well as additional funds provided by these CSOs, the SCERTs must be empowered to develop a sound strategy for partnerships and set the areas for the collaboration with these CSOs. They should also have in place processes to measure the impact of these programs. Ultimately, it must be ensured that CSO collaborations with various levels of the state education machinery need to be in consonance with not only the SCERT's objectives but also aligned to NEP 2020. Structured support for academic capacity building of SCERTs. NCERT needs to provide a structured support by increasing the rigor and consistency of capacity building programs for SCERT faculty through their institutions such as NE, RISE, PSS Central Institute of Vocational Education and CIET, and also by creating opportunities for faculty of SCERT to work with international experts. NCERT needs to design a variety of programs and courses short-term and long-term as per the needs of the SCERTs. NCERT need to closely work with the SCERTs in framing and executing regional conferences for best practice sharing and exchanges across the country. NCTE and NCERT need to support the SCERTs for developing and revising the teacher education curriculum and other teaching learning material. Benchmarking framework for SCERTs. The Ministry of Education is coming up with a performance grading index PGI for ranking of SCERTs in order to ensure quality assurance in all SCERTs and at the same time come up with support mechanisms based on the benchmarking results. Recruitment and career progression. High-quality personnel need to be recruited for SCERT with the development of a separate teacher-educator cadre. Pay scales of the SCERT faculty would also need to be upwardly revised for attracting good professionals. However, state can have their own pay scale as per their state UGC norms. Scope for career progression should be provided for upward mobility. Teacher-educator performance management must be based on objective professional teacher standards NPST, SPST, and account for performance of a teacher-educator throughout her career 165 PAGA. Including training. 10.5 District Institute of Education and Training Diet 10.5.1 Introduction District Institutes of Education and Training diets were envisioned in the National Policy of Education, 1986, and were created by the Government of India, Ministry of Human Resource Development in the early 1990s to strengthen elementary education and support the decentralization of education to the district level. Diets were conceived as the third district level tier to support the system, which would be closer to the field and therefore more alive to its problems and needs. The core institutional focus of a diet was continuous teacher professional development, which would indirectly impact on school improvement programs. Accordingly, Samagra Shiksha envisages diets as a strong district institution that would prepare and support teachers at the school level. 10.5.2 Institutional Vision. The Samagra Shiksha scheme envisaged a strong district institution that would support pre-service and in-service work with teachers at the school education level. To support the universalization of quality education and achieve quality in adult and lifelong education, diets are visualized as a way to infuse the system with the following essential inputs: 1. Provision of pre-service and in-service teacher education programs. 2. Organizing district-level and state-level educational researches on issues pertaining to enrollment, retention, achievement, gender parity, proficiency and dropouts. 3. Facilitating collaborative action researches to enable practicing teachers to address classroom issues. 4. Scouting innovative practices of upper primary teachers and disseminating them among their colleagues by organizing periodical district-level seminars and releasing news bulletins which carry information on innovative classroom processes. 5. Providing resource support to non-formal education sector by extending diet expertise in developing curriculum and supplementary learning materials to adult learners. 6. Designing and developing trainer manuals for Anganwadi workers and for addressing social concerns such as crisis and disaster management, gender sensitivity, leadership manual for school heads etc. 10.5.3 Academic and staffing structure. Diets were originally envisioned as having 7 academic branches, however over the years it was observed that the inflexibility in the organizational structure of the diet has led to suboptimal utilization of its human resources and its inability to allow innovation and prioritization of its activities. Henceforth, in order to allow diets to have flexibility in utilizing its human resources in an optimal and efficient manner, it would be desirable to allow each diet to reorganize its staff around the core functions in alignment with the recommendations of NEP 2020. As per Samagra Shiksha, the staff strength of a diet would be as detailed in the table below, 166 PAGA. Table: Academic and non-academic staff details of diet posts number. Academic posts 25 Principal 1 Vice Principal 1 Senior Lecturers 6 Lecturers 17 Para-academic posts 4 Work Education Teacher 1 Librarian 1 Statistician Accountant 1 Laboratory Assistant 1. 10.5.4 Establishing and strengthening linkages. Diets at the district level were envisioned to supervise the BRCs and CRCs for in-service training of teachers. However, at the field level, it has been seen that diets are working in isolation. Accordingly, a distinct organogram at the state level has been recommended in MOS Guidelines on Strengthening of Diets 2017, with the Secretary, School Education at the top of the hierarchy and flowing down to the diets at the end. In addition, to strengthen linkages between the diets, BRCs, CRCs and SCERT, a revisiting of the formal communication structure between these 4 entities has been recommended in the same guidelines. At present, SCERT provides only academic inputs for teacher training while the diets are focused on pre- and in-service training in the BRC and CRC conduct trainings and provides school support. In order to ensure strong linkage and better coordination, it would be apt that the role of these institutions and linkage between them is clearly brought out. 10.5.5 Strengthening of diets. A reappraisal of the roles, responsibilities and functioning of diets would need to be conducted as per the recommendations of the NEP 2020. In this regard, the department is in the process of preparing a comprehensive guideline on re-envisioning and strengthening of diets. In the meantime, in order to change the existing work culture of the diets, the following steps may be taken to improve the organizational climate. Technology may be leveraged to ensure transparency and accountability in functioning of diets. Provide input for tracking of every child through Vidya Samiksha Kendra (VSK). Monitoring learning outcomes loss at the BRC, CRC and school level. Capacity building and mentoring of teachers through convergence with higher education institutions. Focused plan on overall role and stepwise implementation plan to ensure better functioning. Creating interactive digital platforms for better interaction, sharing best practices and devising new strategies for improvement. Benchmarking of diets through a performance grading index (PGI) for ranking of diets to ensure quality assurance. Devising new strategies for forging better linkages with SCERTs, BRCs and community in order to develop strong synergy. 167 PAGA. 10.6 Block Institutes of Teacher Education BITES. 10.6.1 As per the guideline for implementation of the erstwhile CSSTE 2012, it was decided to establish 196 Block Institute of Teacher Education BITES, one each in a block of each of the 90 minority concentration districts MCDs and the SC/ST dominated districts other than the block in which a diet is sanctioned, for which central assistance would be provided. BITES are elementary pre-service teacher training institutions to ensure preparation of elementary school teachers. However, during the Teacher Education Approval Board (TEAB) meetings, requests had come from different state and UTs to re-examine the requirement of establishing a BITE. After which, it was decided that instead of establishing a BITE, the intake capacity of diet in the neighboring area or district would be enhanced. So far, 81 BITES have been sanctioned for establishment in the minority concentration districts MCDs and the SC/ST dominated districts, for which central assistance is provided. 10.7 Colleges of Teacher Education CTEs and Institute of Advanced Studies in Education IASEs. 10.7.1 Background. The Colleges of Teacher Education CTEs and Institutes of Advanced Studies in Education IASEs were established during the 7-plan period under the Centrally Sponsored Scheme CSS of Restructuring and Reorganization of Teacher Education 1987, which aimed at about 250 existing secondary teacher education institutes STEIs of an adequate standard and good reputation be financially assisted, on a project basis, towards becoming leading and innovative institutes in the field of teacher education. 10.7.2 Modified Vision. CTEs and IASEs will be provided programmatic support for working towards teacher preparation and development. It may be noted that this programmatic support will be provided only for government CTEs and IASEs. Accordingly, the focus will be on the following. In-service teacher training programs may be conducted in close coordination with CTEs and IASEs, as these institutions are mandated to prepare secondary and higher secondary teachers. CTEs and IASEs to also leverage support from Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching PMMM and MTT specifically for faculty development. 10.8 Teacher Training 10.8.1 Background. For in-service training, the country has a large network of teacher training institutions TTIs including SCERTs and diets, which provide annual in-service training to school teachers. The spread of these TTIs is both vertical and horizontal. At the national level, the NCERT, along with its 5 regional institutes of education RISE, prepares a host of training modules and undertakes specific programs for training of teachers and teacher educators. Institutional support is also provided by the National Institute on Educational Planning and Administration NIEPA. 168 PAGA. At the state level, the SCERTs prepare modules for teacher training and conduct some specialized courses for teacher educators and school teachers. The CTEs and IASEs provide in-service training to secondary school teachers and teacher educators. At the district level, in-service training is provided by the diets. The Block Resource Centers BRCs and Cluster Resource Centers CRCs form the grassroots level of institutions in the vertical hierarchy for providing in-service training to school teachers. To emphasize the integration of training structures and also to reiterate the academic position of SCERTs CS in the states, under Samagra Siksha, the SCERT would be the nodal agency in the state for conduct of teachers' training. For this purpose, the role of the SCERT has been re-envisioned to include SCERT to prepare a combined annual teacher training calendar for AK to senior secondary level with active participation of various state agencies and international agency if any, to provide quality training programs avoiding duplicity and repetitions of the similar nature of program conducted by different agencies. SCERT to also ensure strict compliance of this training calendar. Active role in development of need-based training modules. In addition, as per the recommendations of the NEP 2020, the emphasis will be on the following focus areas. SCERTs, diets, BRCs, CRCs will be strengthened to enable them to take up the initial professional preparation of AK educators in primary schools and their continuous professional development CPD. Teachers will be trained, encouraged, and supported with continuous professional development to impart foundational literacy and numeracy. In-service training will have inputs on safety, health and environment at workplace in schools to ensure that all teachers are sensitized to these requirements. Continuous opportunities for self-improvement will be offered in multiple modes, such as workshops, online teacher development modules, etc. Each teacher will be expected to participate in at least 50 hours of CPD opportunities every year driven by their own interests. School principals will also be expected to participate in 50 hours or more of CPD modules per year, covering leadership and management, with a focus on preparing and implementing pedagogical plans based on competency-based education. The use of technology platforms such as Swayam Diksha for online training of teachers will be encouraged, so that standardized training programs can be administered to large numbers of teachers within a short span of time. While promoting digital learning and education, the importance of face-to-face in-person learning is fully recognized. Accordingly, different effective models of blended learning will be identified for appropriate replication for different subjects. 10.8.2 School Leadership Development Program (SLDP). To enhance leadership capability at the school level for institution building to deliver quality education, SLDP is provided to state and UTs for training of RPs with support from National Center for School Leadership (NCSL) of NIEPA and HUM training by states' resource persons. 10.8.3 Training for Administrative and Academic Support 169 PAGA. For head teachers, as an educational professional, the head teacher needs training for providing academic support to teachers in the school. The head teacher must also be trained in leadership so that he can be a democratic and natural leader, not because of the position he holds, but because of his ability to administer a school where there is no discrimination or bias on grounds of gender, caste or community. Thus, training for head teachers would include the following components: orientation to the provisions of RTE Act which directly relate to school functioning, orientation on emotional aspects to ensure that children who have been mainstreamed into age-appropriate classes are supported, or keeping up-to-date records of teacher and student participation in various activities, or dealing with children with special needs, and/or academic and human resource management for educational administrators. The RTE Act places responsibilities on educational administrators to ensure that the provisions of the Act are implemented. A key reform in training would be to change the inspectorial role of the educational administrator to that of a mentor. Educational administrators need training for ensuring that financial, social, cultural, linguistic and procedural barriers do not come in the way of children accessing and completing elementary education, b. Undertaking periodic supervision of schools to observe the infrastructure, facilities, use of teaching learning material, and other administrative aspects, c. Operationalizing the school syllabi, teaching learning process and learner assessment system, d. Developing a proper system of academic and curricular support to serve the purpose of continuing professional upgradation of teachers. 10.8.4 Training of teacher educators. Blended training program for teacher educators as resource persons. Training programs for teacher educators need to be instituted in the state, UT, including a range of professional growth and capacity building programs, on the basis of the actual needs and capacity of the institution, giving the physical and financial implications of each activity subject to the norms of Samagra Shiksha. Blended induction training of teacher educators. The newly recruited teacher educators of DIETS and BITES should have strong grounding in curriculum, pedagogy and research. For this purpose, an orientation induction training for a period of 10 days may be conducted by the SCERT's CAs by utilizing the expertise of academicians from the national regional level institutions such as NCERT, NIEPA, RISE, etc. The norms governing the support under Samagra Shiksha for teacher training are as detailed in the annexure on programmatic and financial norms. 10.9 Nishtha Teacher Training. 10.9.1 Background. It is not possible for schools to move away from a rote learning-based approach to more competency-based learning unless all teachers, heads of schools, and others involved in the 170 PAGA school administration are oriented to develop in their students competency-based higher thinking skills. Keeping in view the above, an integrated teacher training program was designed and pilot tested in the Tripura. Based on learning from this program, it was decided to develop a nationwide integrated training program to build capacity for around 42 lakh participants covering all teachers, heads of schools at the elementary level in all government schools, faculty members of SCERTs, DIETS as well as officials and resource persons from BRCs and CRCs in all state and UTs. Thus, National Initiative for School Heads and Teachers Holistic Advancement NIShtha is a first-of-its-kind teacher training program under Samagra Shiksha wherein the Government of India, through its academic bodies such as the NCERT and NIEPA, is taking a lead role in changing the landscape of in-service teacher training. The modules for NIShtha have been developed through a consultative process involving suggestions from state NUTs and CBSE, KVS, NVS, school principals, and non-governmental organizations. The prominent features of these integrated programs are the activity-based modules including educational games and quizzes, social-emotional learning, art-integrated learning, motivational interactions, team building, preparation for the school-based assessment, inbuilt continuous feedback mechanism, online monitoring and support system, training gap, and impact analysis pre- and post-training. The objective of NIShtha is to motivate and encourage teachers to use these activities in classroom transactions to ensure the engagement of all students and bring the best out of them. 10.9.2 Methodology of NIShtha Intervention. 10.9.2.1 Face-to-face mode. Generally, training programs are conducted for teachers, school principals, SMCs and state, district, block, cluster level functionaries in isolated manner with different objectives and content. The NIShtha program attempts to bring all the stakeholders and target groups on the same platform, integrating them and orienting them on similar content, focusing on their specific roles and responsibilities. NIShtha training was initially launched in August 2019 for elementary teachers in face-to-face mode, and almost 17 lakh teachers were trained till March 2020 before the outbreak of pandemic. The face-to-face mode involved the following procedure. National resource groups comprising of 15 experts each were constituted by NCERT. These NRGs trained key resource persons identified by the state NUT for further teacher training, and state resource person already trained by NIEPA identified by the state NUT for further training of school heads and other functionaries. The ratio of identified KRPs was 1:150 teachers 1 KRP per 150 teachers. After receiving training from NRG, these KRPs SRPs formed a group called State Resource Group SRGs, which had 6 members, 5 KRPs plus 1 SRPL in each group, and started training teacher directly at block level. This group was also responsible for follow-up and monitoring of the program. By using this methodology, the master trainer layer has been eliminated. This will help in reducing the high percentage of communication loss that occurs due to many layers. Modules on the selected themes for the training program were disseminated to all concerned with the guidelines on their roles and responsibilities as well as calendar, 171 PAGA. Time schedule and modalities for the conduct of different sessions. State NUTs are expected to translate and print the modules for distribution among SRG members before the training program, if required. However, state NUTs can also use their own training material along with NCERT material for contextualization. These SRGs provided 5 days training to the school heads, teachers, BRCs and CRCs at block level. In order to ensure that all teachers in a particular state are covered tentatively within 6 months, one SRG trained a group of 100 to 150 people at block level, head teachers, headmasters, teachers, BRCs and CRCs in one cycle, and in the given time schedule, it needed to train 500 to 750 teachers 5 cycles on an average. Training of school heads is of utmost importance, as they will have to work as a resource person for teachers in their respective schools. Training given by NIEPA has been aligned with the training modules of NCERT. The training of state resource persons SRPs, which includes school heads, also held with the training program for KRPs. Therefore, the training program has been designed for 6 days, which included 5 days for KRP training and 2 days starting from the 5th day of KRP training for SRPs and functionaries. Thus, there was one overlapping day where both KRPs and SRPs will attend the program. The state NUT identified SRPs from the school heads who have already received training from NIEPA. After receiving integrated training, SRP will be a part of SRG. Every training round for teachers had one session by an outside expert who was doing some innovative work for the society in various fields such as use of biogas, solar panel, kitchen gardens, organic farming, motivation of teachers, etc. A pre-training training gap analysis and a post-training training impact assessment survey was carried out to assess the impact of the training program. 10.9.2.2 Online NIShtha. COVID-19 has presented challenges for face-to-face training but has also provided us with several opportunities to innovate, revamp, and integrate technology in in-service teacher training. Nishtha Online for elementary teachers was launched on the 6th of October 2020 for remaining teachers who could not be trained in face-to-face mode. It has been created by customizing modules for online delivery in the format compatible with Diksha platform of NCERT. It includes multiple approaches for interaction, i.e., text modules along with videos, live sessions by national-level resource persons on DTH Swayamprabha TV channel and interactive voice response system. In addition, assessment is inbuilt in every module and online certificates will be automatically generated for participants after completion of the course. There are 18 modules in this program, 12 for teachers, 5 for school heads and 1 specialized module on teaching and learning during COVID-19 times. Each module consists of guidelines, primers, training package with QR coded A content, videos on each module, and other A resources. To facilitate teachers to undertake online Nishtha training, adequate funding for teachers for procuring pen drives, printing of modules and high-speed data pack has been provided at elementary level on reimbursement basis and subject to successful completion of the training course. 172 PAGA 10.9.2.3 Blended Mode. Due to ongoing pandemic, the Nishtha teacher training has been completely shifted on online platform Diksha. However, online training cannot completely substitute face-to-face mode of training. Therefore, blended mode of training will be adopted once the pandemic is over. Blended mode will have both face-to-face and online components to make training effective and time-bound. 10.9.3 Secondary Nishtha 2.0. After training around 40 lakh elementary teachers, Nishtha training has been extended to secondary teachers and launched on the 29th of July 2021. Secondary Nishtha has 68 modules including 12 generics and 56 subject-specific modules and will cover around 10 lakh teachers. The specific feature of Nishtha is interactivity with teachers. It provides teachers opportunities to not only share their concerns and problems with the resource persons but also to present solutions of these problems through their activities and presentations. 10.9.4 Nishtha 3.0 on Foundational Literacy and Numeracy. Teacher capacity plays a central role in the attainment of foundational skills. Currently, few teachers have had the opportunity to be trained in a multi-level, play-based, student-centered style of learning that is so important for students in early grade school, particularly in grades 1 and 2. Children naturally learn at different levels and paces during their early school years. However, the current formal system assumes from the very beginning a common level and pace for all, due to which many students start to fall behind almost immediately. Regular professional development focusing on preschool education and foundational literacy and numeracy is yet not systematic. If we look at the challenges of designing in-service training programs for school teachers, we find that they often do not address real classroom issues, like multi-level learning situation, language diversity, etc. Moreover, trainings are not followed up with further refresher workshops and on-site or other forms of mentoring for teachers. Since preschool education in schools has recently been covered under Samagra Siksha, in-service training in this area is still a major challenge across state and UTs running 173 PAGA. Pre-primary sections. In most cases, the training is inadequate. Similarly, capacities and training of Anganwadi workers in this regard are inadequate. Consequently, following Nishtha model, a customized FLN package for teachers teaching at foundational stage of education has been designed covering the continuum from preschool to the early primary grades, to meet the specific content and pedagogical requirements, and the same has been launched on the 7th of September 2021. This package covers the following 12 modules: 1. Introduction to FLN Mission. 2. Shifting towards competency-based education. 3. Understanding the learner, how children learn. 4. Transacting. 3 months play-based school preparation module for grade 1 children, and Balvatika. 5. Foundational language and literacy. 6. Foundational numeracy. 7. Learning assessment. 8. Involvement of parents and community. 9. Integration of ICT in teaching, learning and assessment. 10. Multilingual education. 11. Toy-based pedagogy. 12. Module on school leadership, which is targeted towards headmasters, administrators, CRC and BRC, who will be mentoring the program. 10.9.5 Expected outcomes. The following are the expected outcomes from the Nishtha program: improvement in foundational literacy and numeracy of students. Teachers will be able to create enabling and enriching classroom environment wherein every child will be able to learn without any stress and anxiety. Improvement in learning outcomes of the students assessed through NAS and SHASH. Teachers are trained to implement integration of ICT in teaching, learning and assessment. Transformation of the principal head of the schools into a key academic support, including support for experiential learning for all teachers in the school. Empower teachers to understand the need of emotional well-being, self-awareness, social awareness, and to handle situations involving violence and abuse. 10.10 Programmatic and financial norms, strengthening of teacher education. The norms for the financial assistance available under the scheme have been indicated, and the states can augment the provisions for various interventions from their own resources. Further, the preference would be given to the state MUTs, in terms of fund provisions, which have restructured their SCERT and diets, as per MO 2018 guidelines, for program and activities and other related interventions. 10.10.1 Non-recurring support. Strengthening of physical infrastructure in TEIs, SCERTs, CAs, diets and bites 174 PAGA. Provision for infrastructure support to enhance the access and to provide enabling condition for quality education. Infrastructure support can accordingly be classified into 5 categories: or establishment of new diets, provision for establishment of a new diet for new districts created up to the 31st of March 2020. However, new diets would be sanctioned only to those states UTs where all the previously sanctioned diets are functional. Or establishment of new SCERT eligible only for that state UT where there is no SCERT Z. Or for new construction and expansion of existing TEIs, SCERTs, CAs, diets and bites as per norms, to facilitate strengthening of existing infrastructure in TEIs and organizationally of the SCERTs and diets. States UTs, in addition to requisite supporting documents as per norms, are required to provide justification on the need of the proposed new construction and expansion of existing TEIs. For provision of major and minor repair, SCERTs, CAs, diets and bites, building repair and maintenance as work undertaken to keep, restore, improve the facilities of a structure or building to keep the structure, building in good conditions and in currently acceptable standards to sustain its utility and value. Or establishment of special cells for SCERT, one-time grant, non-recurring central assistance of up to Rs. 50.00 lakh per SCERT for establishment of special cells, laboratories for science, mathematics, social studies, educational technology and language English education. Up to 10.00 lakh per cell. The key features for new, fresh proposals for civil works in teacher education component. The proposal would be considered only after the state government has allotted land for new diet SCERT, along with necessary permissions, for its establishment. The estimate would be based on SSOR duly notified by state government or CPWD, whichever is lower. The new structures will be constructed as earthquake resistant and will have facilities for water harvesting and barrier-free access. Provisions for renewable energy utilization may be explored in the new diet SCERT buildings, strengthened, upgraded. Solar panels for water heating, running water pump, solar power etc. are suggested as some of the possible activities. Diet SCERT building to incorporate safety features for resistance against hazards. The new civil works proposal may not be considered in case if states UTs have high spillover in the earlier sanctioned civil works. For sanctioning a new diet, the state government may submit a detailed proposal with requisite documents such as O-Bond estimates with site map plan, O-Gazette notification on formation of new district, O-Location certificate from district magistrate collector along with land transferred for the diet, O-Status report on diets already sanctioned in the state, UTO status of non-functional diets in the state and UT. Please specify the reason. 10.10.2 Recurring central assistance to the states UTs 175 PAGA. A. Setting up of assessment cell. States UTs may set up assessment cell preferably in the SCERT. For UTs, where there is no SCERT, the assessment cell may be established either at the State Project Office SPO or Diet, etc. And provision of funds can be availed accordingly. The main objectives for establishing an assessment cell are as follows: to develop and conduct various achievement surveys, data collection, analysis and disseminate the performance of students on a regular basis. To develop assessment tools and item banks in order to diagnose the learning gaps of students studying at different school levels. For capacity building of various stakeholders including faculties in SCERTs and diets to develop high-quality assessment tools and test items to work out intervention strategies on various aspects such as improved teacher training, curriculum revisions, school leadership programs, school standards, etc. Financial norms recurring up to Rs. 50.00 lakh recurring cost per annum. The fund approved under the assessment cell is not to be utilized for hiring of staff and salary support. B. Financial support for salary in TEIs. The salary support for teacher educators in the TEIs, SCERTs, diets, bites, CTEs, IASEs would be provided as per the norms of Samagra Shiksha as detailed below. Besides this, any other additionality under the salary head or requirements as per terms and conditions for recruitment of teacher educators in the state UT is to be borne by the state UT. Black small square support for salaries for SCERTs will be provided for the posts filled against the number of posts sanctioned in accordance with the MO Guidelines 2018 Samagra Shiksha Framework, as per the suggested organizational structure for SCERT, after the state UT government has duly notified the revised organizational structure, staffing pattern and strength. State governments and UT administrations are also encouraged to create a separate cadre of teacher educators in order to ensure qualified and experienced teacher educators are retained in the system. After the restructuring of an SCERT, support for salary would be provided only for posts newly created and filled. However, the remaining posts of the SCERT, which were created and filled up before the introduction of the revised scheme in 2012, would continue to be the liability of the respective state UT government. Black small square support for salaries will also be provided to diets and bites for posts created and filled after 2012. In respect of the remaining posts in diets and bites, which were created before 2012, the support for salary will continue to be the liability of the respective state UT government. Black small square support for salary for SCERTs, diets and bites would be provided both for academic and para-academic posts filled up as per Samagra Shiksha guidelines. In case of para-academic posts, support for salary will be provided only for the following posts: A. SCERT, 1. Semi-professional, 2. Junior project fellow, 3. Accountant, 4. Laboratory assistant, B. Diet, 1. Work education teacher, 2. Librarian, 3. Laboratory assistant and 4. Statistician accountant, C. Bite, 1. Librarian and 2. Laboratory assistant 176 PAGA. Black small square in respect of support for salary for CTEs and IASEs, existing support for salaries for academic posts only would be continued for only government CTEs and IASEs. For posts created and filled before 2012, the support for salary will continue to be the liability of the respective institution state UT government. Financial norms recurring the salary support will be provided as per the actual salary on the basis of pay scale and grade pay in respect of the posts sanctioned and filled up after 2012. Further, central support for the salary of teacher educators is restricted to 60% of the total filled up posts by every state and UT. In addition, the following clauses will be applied. Salary will not be provided for posts filled through deputation of officials from other departments. There will be no provision for committed liability under the teacher educator's salary head. After closing of the financial year, any remaining amount under the salary head would be the liability of the respective state UT government. In addition, with respect to para-academic posts, support for salary will be provided only for the 4 posts as mentioned above for SCERTs and diets and the 2 posts as detailed above for bites. All the other posts under para-academic and non-academic posts would continue to be the liability of the respective state UT government. C. Program and activities and capacity building SCERTs and diets. A strong program of capacity building would need to be instituted in the state UT and made available to the teacher educators in the SCERTs and diets. Accordingly, a range of professional growth and capacity building opportunities would need to be conceptualized, and some important activities that can be taken up in this direction are: continuing education. A range of such short courses, diplomas, certificates could be developed by various institutions of higher education in the state, including universities, Department of Education, IASEs, CTEs and some capable NGOs with relevant expertise. These courses need to be conceived so that absence of faculty from the institute is not excessive. Use of blended learning and modular type courses could also be considered. Courses could also include a component of independent work as well as evaluation of the participant. Courses lists which are recommended for diet faculty could be compiled by the SCERT and information provided so that these faculties can avail of such opportunities. Co-curricular activities. SCERT's diets should organize various formally structured, curriculum-related training and related programs, in addition to organizing a wide range of co-curricular activities, wherein faculty members and trainees, especially pre-service trainees, would participate on a voluntary basis, depending on their individual interest. Though these activities would be outside the regular curricular programs, these would play an important role in enriching life in the campus. Research and publication. DIETS as an institution and DIET faculties as individuals should be encouraged to take up studies on the status of education in their district. For 177 PAGA. This, the DIET faculty would need to have in addition to a flair for research and documentation, research funds and infrastructure to support this work. These researchers should be able to contribute to addressing the issues faced by teachers and students in the district. A basket of research projects with the research design and methodology built in could be developed by the SCERT University Department of Education and made available to the DIETs, who would have the liberty of choosing from this basket. DIETs may also take part in research that is designed at the state level and contribute to the data analytics of the district. Both quantitative and qualitative research studies would be encouraged. The following efforts could also contribute to the quality and significance of the researches conducted. Every member of faculty must be involved in carrying out a small or medium research study. Preference in terms of quantum of funding could be given to research studies that are carried out independently or collaboratively between DIETs and universities NGOs. Action research projects in which DIET faculty collaborate with school teachers may also be given preference in funding. Faculty should be required to present their ongoing research at seminars. They must make a presentation at least once a year in the SCERT DIET Faculty Forum. Faculty should be encouraged to publish their work and write in journals, magazines and newspapers. SCERT DIET should also support publications of teachers in the districts. State government should publish summary findings of all researches, studies, action researches undertaken by the SCERT DIET in the previous year on their website with necessary links. SCERT DIET could institute an annual compilation of research studies conducted at various levels, or create online DIET magazine carrying articles by student teachers, teacher educators and teachers of the district. In addition, e-newsletters or bulletins could be developed at more frequent intervals and disseminated regularly. Seminars, workshops and study tours. Black small square attendance at seminars to present papers should be encouraged and appreciated. Black small square participating in seminars or in workshops could also be counted towards professional development and capacity building. Black small square study tours may be undertaken by faculty so that at least once in 2 years, each faculty member goes on an exposure trip. These trips could be to model and innovative schools or to innovative teacher education institutions or centers with outreach for school students and teachers. Direct field interventions and school improvement. DIET could design and implement direct work in schools serving special groups or schools which are facing difficulties. This would be a field action project and would involve continuous curriculum and pedagogic innovation, work with teachers and school heads, work with community as well as assessing and overseeing children's learning and all-round development. These would be intensive and time-bound interventions which should be carried out in an action research mode with field presence and mentoring. Action project and would involve continuous curriculum and pedagogic innovation, work with teachers and school heads, work with community as well as assessing and overseeing children's learning and all-round development. These would be intensive and time-bound interventions which should be carried out in an action research mode with field presence and mentoring. DIETs could plan to design and undertake such direct interventions in collaboration with university departments or established CSOs on 178 PAGA. The field. Forums such as the Professional Learning Communities PLCs are key spaces for the strengthening of reflective practice throughout the education system. Forums should have both physical and virtual components to ensure continuous interactions, seeking and sharing. Forums also serve as a motivational environment of interaction with people and ideas and provide opportunities for exposure, learning and discussion of different perspectives, experiences, and experiments of teaching learning processes, material development, etc. Details of program and activities and capacity building for SCERTs and DIETs are given in the programmatic and financial norms at Annexure D. Technology support to TEIs, SCERTs, DIETs, BITES. ICT infrastructure is complex and fragile and requires regular maintenance support. However, given the potential for benefit to the process of teaching learning, the processes for creating and maintaining the infrastructure needs to be developed as part of the program. Hence the program needs to ensure infrastructure availability, computer lab, internet preferably broadband wireless, with other ICT devices including radio, TV, camera, audio recorder, mics, speakers, handycams etc. A lab attendant is required to secure and manage the infrastructure and maintain uptime. Digital library repository should be maintained in the lab, variety of resources etc. The component gives flexibility to procure hardware such as tablets, laptops, notebooks, integrated teaching learning devices and open source operating system as well as hardware, software, training and resource support. This would include support for smart classrooms, virtual classrooms, digital boards and DTH channels. Financial norms, technology support NR and recurring proposal would not be considered in case of states UTs having non-functional ICT labs, which were sanctioned in previous years under Samagra Shiksha. TEIs would be eligible for recurring support under Technology Support Head, only if the sanctioned ICT labs are functional. The eligibility of recurring support would be only for those ICT labs, which were sanctioned under Samagra Shiksha. A. Annual grant for TEIs. Day-to-day expenses, hiring of resource persons experts for teacher training, purchase of library books, periodicals, development and maintenance of website, small office library equipment, stationery, office expenses, etc. Each diet could develop and run an educational resource center for the district. A resource center is an enhanced library with a range of materials and resources required for professional practice and created specifically to be made available to the teachers, teacher educators, district education planners, etc. It would include the following facilities. OA functional library with a collection of reference books, children's books, teaching learning materials, textbooks, maps and other resource materials, including access to 179 PAGA. Internet and computer-enabled resources. O local materials of relevance to education, teaching and planning such as related studies in the district and educational statistics, collection of local specific experiments and innovative initiatives, etc. O tools and materials for replication of teaching aids, etc. Or sets of materials that teachers can borrow and take into the classrooms for direct use, multiple kits for demonstrations and organizing activities for whole class. Or updated database on resource persons groups, resource organizations, agencies and research institutes working in education and to be made available at the district level for academic purposes. OA digital library lab for access to various digital resources and the internet. SCERT Diet website. The website would provide institutional and organizational information, status on ongoing work and activities, publications, related links, etc. Each faculty's profile would also be posted in the web page. In addition, information about master resource persons and special achievements of the institution could be incorporated. Furthermore, the website could also include registration and membership login for all teacher education institutions, schools, teachers and teacher educators of the district and enable them to participate in discussion groups and to receive relevant information. Such a forum could also link and support student teachers in the pre-service teacher education program. Best practices to be uploaded on Shagun portal. The Shagun repository has been designed to change the narrative on school education by showcasing a multitude of innovative and successful models being implemented by state and UTs in diverse circumstances. This would enable these initiatives to be replicated and upscaled at the same time, encouraging state and UTs to positively compete with each other. These success stories and best practices will also be reviewed during the PAB meetings, and the performance of the state and UTs will be adjudged on the basis of the quality and quantity of materials uploaded in the portal. 10.11 Academic support through Block Resource Centers (BRCs), Urban Resource Centers (URCs) and Cluster Resource Centers (CRCs). 10.11.1 Introduction. Block Resource Centers (BRCs), Urban Resource Centers (URCs) and Cluster Resource Centers (CRCs) have been conceptualized to function as academic resource centers. The coordinators in BRCs and CRCs provide in-service training and on-site support to schools for improvement of quality. Given the significance of these structures, NEP 2020 recommends to strengthen them. To improve the effectiveness of the block cluster coordinators, there will be a focus on improved selection criteria, which takes into consideration experience, qualifications and aptitude for training and research. There will also be focus on constant skill enhancement through appropriate training programs that will help resource persons grow into teacher mentors cum educators. Functional linkages of BRCs and CRCs with DIETS and district level resource groups will also be strengthened. BRCs and CRCs will support the entire schooling system from pre-primary to class 12. In urban areas, academic resource centers would be set up on 180 PAGA. The lines of BRC to cover 10 to 15 CRCs. If the municipality or town development authority has academic staff, they may be deployed in the URCs. On an average, one CRC coordinator may be placed in charge of 15 to 18 schools in a block. 10.11.2 Roles and functions of BRCs. Function as a repository of academic resources including ICT, science and math kits, teaching learning resource material in different curricular areas, including preschool material, and material for children with special needs. Maintain and constantly update databases of education experts from nearby teacher education institutions, NGOs, colleges, universities who could participate in resource groups for different subject areas and themes. Ensure regular school visits and on-site academic support to address pedagogic issues and other issues related to school development. Prepare and organize in-service teacher training based on teacher needs, including subject-wise trainings as observed during school visits, under the guidance of diets. Participate in monthly teacher meetings organized at the cluster level to discuss academic issues and to design strategies for better school performance. Consult with school management committee, community members and local authority with technical support of diets for formulating school development plans. And design a comprehensive quality improvement plan for the block cluster and implement it in a time-bound manner. 10.11.3 Role and functions of CRCs. Function as academic resource centers with adequate resource reference materials for teachers. Undertake regular school visits and provide on-site academic support to teachers. Organize monthly meetings to discuss academic issues and design strategies for better school performance. Visit and hold meetings with members of the SMCs and other local bodies for school improvement. Support SMC in school development plan. Ensure that the special training programs are properly designed and implemented in the cluster for out-of-school children and securing their admission to age-appropriate classes and updating details regarding their identification and progress on PRA-BANDH module for OOSC. 10.11.4 Modified Vision. As per NEP 2020, BRCs and CRCs have a significant role in ensuring the implementation of the NEP 2020. Moreover, these institutions are the most critical units for ensuring and evaluating the quality of education at school level on a constant basis and provide timely remedial interventions. As per recommendations of NEP 2020, SCERT will be developing an overall strategic plan and an institution-wise action plan for the reinvigoration of CRCs, BRCs, and diets. Further, the major focus areas will be the following: BRCs, URCs and CRCs as the main units providing training and on-site support to schools and teachers. Framework will be developed at the national level on the roles, responsibilities, Selection 181 PAGA. Criteria, functioning and reporting by CRC, BRC based on the requirements of the National Education Policy, 2020 for which a national level committee has been constituted. Improved selection criteria for the coordinators of BRC, URC and CRCs. The selection criteria should follow an objective assessment of their experience, qualifications and aptitude for training and research. BRC, URC coordinator and faculty should be professionally qualified and have at least 5 years teaching experience. Capacity building and constant skill enhancement of BRC, URC and CRC coordinators. Strengthening of functional linkage between BRC, URCs and CRCs with diets and district-level resource groups. Prepare an annual calendar for regular school visits by the resource persons in the BRCs and CRCs. Regular monitoring and supervision for the functioning of the BRCs and CRCs through virtual platform mobile app based at the state level. Incentivizing the best performing BRCs and CRCs through a performance grading index PGIs for them. 10.11.5 Programmatic intervention of BRCs, URCs and CRCs. The norms governing the support under Samagra Shiksha for academic support to BRCs and CRCs are as detailed in programmatic and financial norms given at Annexure. 10.12 Key performance indicators, monitoring mechanisms and expected outcomes. SL. No component monitoring mechanism. Expected outcomes. 1. Strengthening of physical infrastructure in TEIs and establishment of new diets. At national and state level through PRA-BANDH and quarterly monitoring of TEIs. Online interactions with SCERTs and diets. 6 monthly. Infrastructure of the SCERT diets will be improved for providing enhanced support to teachers in the district level. Learning gaps will be identified and improved as evidenced in the SHASH and NAS. Pedagogical interventions will be designed and implemented in order to bridge the identified learning gaps. SHASH and NAS interventions. 2. Salaries of teacher educators TEIs. At national and state level through PRABANDH, quarterly monitoring of TEIs and PGI indicator 2.1.12. Filling up of vacant positions of academic faculties in SCERTs and diets. 3. Training for in-service teacher, head teachers and teacher educators. At national, state, district and block level through PRABANDH, reporting by BRCs, CRCs and PG1 indicators 2.1.18 and 2.1.20. All secondary and senior secondary teachers trained through online Nishtha and Diksha integration of ICT in classroom teaching. Teachers aware of new initiatives under Samagra Siksha 182 PAGA. SL. No component monitoring mechanism. Expected outcomes. Collaborations established with CTEs and IASEs for capacity building programs. 4. Program and activities in capacity building SCERTs and diets. At national and state level through Diksha and quarterly monitoring of SCERT and diets. Faculty of SCERTs and diets are aware of guidelines issued at the state and national level with regard to school education from time to time. E.g., School Safety and Security, Pragyata, Nipan Bharat Framework. Online content across different classes and subject areas created by SCERT and diet faculty and uploaded on Diksha. Action research studies on classroom practices to help in addressing challenges. Collaborations with professional institutions for CPD programs. Submission of complete reports of at least 2 research studies in a year. Findings of research studies collated and innovative practices identified and disseminated at the state and district level to inspire teachers and trainers to become reflective practitioners. 5. Technology support to TEIs. At national and state level through Diksha and reporting by BRCs and CRCs. Teacher educators or the faculty members of SCERT and diets have been oriented on the use of ICT in classroom teaching. Teacher educators fully equipped with the know-how of use of technology in the teaching learning process. Content prepared by SCERT and diets uploaded on Diksha for use by both the teachers and students. 7. Annual grant for TEIs. At national and state level through quarterly monitoring of TEIs and PGI indicator 2.1.26. SCERT and diet have a functional website with teaching learning materials for teacher educators, teachers and students. Regular updation of website 183 PAGA. SL. No component monitoring mechanism. Expected outcomes. With the latest programs and activities. 8. Academic support through BRC, URC, CRC. App-based reporting at the block, district and state level in PGI indicator 2.1.15. Framework on roles and responsibilities of BRCs and CRCs developed and available with all the SCERTs. Continuous orientation of every BRC and CRC on the framework and guidelines. Selection criteria established for recruitment of block and cluster resource persons. Strengthened linkage between BRCs, CRCs and diets, which will be reflected in their joint efforts for the capacity building of teachers and school heads. Development of content, material related to pedagogy and assessment. Regular school visits by BRCs and CRCs, academic handholding and systematic reporting of school visits. 184 PAGA. Chapter 11. Vocational Education. 11.1 Major Goals. Integration of vocational education with general academic education in all schools. Enhancing the employability and entrepreneurial abilities of the students and providing exposure to the work environment. Generating awareness amongst students about various career options so as to enable them to make a choice in accordance with their aptitude, competence, and aspirations. 11.2 Introduction. Schools provide an environment for the learners for acquiring theoretical information, practical skills and behavioral attitudes, required to reach the varied aspirational needs and educational goals. The success of the education system is judged by the extent to which it contributes to the learning of the students. Therefore, creating more learning opportunities and ensuring the achievement of learning outcomes are the key indicators in any education system. Learning outcome is an expression of what a student will demonstrate on the successful completion of a course, and indicates the intended gain in knowledge and skills that a student will be able to achieve. The NEEP 2020 states some fundamental principles that will transform the education system as well as individual institutions. Among these principles, one that is of particular relevance to vocational education is that there will be no hard separations between the vocational and academic streams. NEP Para 4.9. The policy aims to overcome the social status hierarchy associated with vocational education and requires integration of vocational education into mainstream education in all education institutions in a phased manner over the next decade. NEP Para 16.4. The policy highlights the need for providing vocational exposure and skills to all students during school to become good, successful, innovative, adaptable, and productive human beings in today's rapidly changing world. The expectation is that the dignity of labor will be emphasized with the focus on importance of various vocations, involving Indian arts and artisanship, and the development of vocational capacities will go hand in hand with development of academic or other capacities. For inclusion of children with disabilities, emphasis has been laid on assistive devices and appropriate technology-based tools, as well as adequate and language-appropriate teaching learning materials, and safety aspects. Vocationalization of education, which refers to the inclusion of those practical subjects or courses, which generate among the students some basic knowledge, skills, and disposition that prepare them to think of becoming skilled workers or entrepreneurs, was introduced in 1988 through a centrally sponsored scheme of vocationalization of secondary education. Vocationalization of education serves as 185 PAGA. An instrument to bring about the connectivity between general education and vocational education. Vocationalization of school education (VSE) under Samagra Shiksha was introduced at the secondary stage to make provisions for the development of productive skills alongside general academic education throughout the school education system. The vocational education component under Samagra Shiksha provides for giving exposure to vocational education to students of grades V to 8 and introduction of vocational courses from grades IX to 12, which are aligned with the National Skills Qualifications Framework (NSQF) notified by the Government of India in 2013. The NSQF is a nationally integrated education and competency-based framework and organizes qualifications according to a series of levels of knowledge, skills, and aptitude. These levels are defined in terms of learning outcomes which the learner must possess regardless of whether they are acquired through formal, non-formal, or informal learning. Vocational education prepares individuals for the current and future labor market and enables them to progress within their occupations and lifelong learning. The success of vocational education is not solely measured by the grades or marks obtained by the students, but also by their performance in the world of work. Vocational education and training help a person to explore his/her talents and acquire necessary knowledge and skills to avail livelihood opportunities and perform effectively on the job. 11.3 Aims and Objectives. The aim of introducing vocational education in schools is to integrate vocational education with general academic education. The main objectives are enhancing the employability and entrepreneurial abilities of the students, providing exposure to work environment to the students, generating awareness amongst students about various career options so as to enable them to make a choice in accordance with their aptitude, competence and aspirations. Vocational education will help students to acquire generic or soft skills, hard or job-specific skills, and entrepreneurship skills, besides knowledge and abilities required for the life and world of work. 11.4 Scope. The vocational education component shall provide for the introduction of vocational courses along with other subjects from classes IX to 12. The vocational subjects are to be introduced as an additional or compulsory subject at the secondary level and as compulsory elective at the higher secondary level. Exposure to vocational education would also be provided in classes V to 8 to provide opportunities to the students to orient themselves with the skills required for the various occupations and to equip them to make informed choices while selecting their subjects in higher classes. The component includes introduction of vocational education in schools, capacity building of vocational education teachers, skill trainers, development of competency-based curriculum and teaching learning material, development of management information system for monitoring and evaluation, and taking up innovative programs. 186 PAGA. Under vocational education, the scheme will cover government and government-aided schools in all the states UTs, while giving preference to government schools. 11.5 Implementing mechanism. Agencies in states UTs. The scheme will be implemented in the schools by the state UT governments through the respective departments of school education and boards of school education. The various key stakeholders involved in the implementation are as follows. National Level O Department of School Education and Literacy DOSNL O National Council of Educational Research and Training NCERT O PSS Central Institute of Vocational Education PSSCIVE NCERT O National Council for Vocational Education and Training NCVET O National Skill Development Corporation NSDC O Sector Skills Councils SSCs O Central Board of Secondary Education CBSE State Level O School Education Board SEB O State Council of Educational Research and Training SCERT O State Government Schools O Government Aided Schools District Level O District Institute of Education and Training. The occupational choice of an individual would be based on his/her vocational orientation, interest, ability, and aptitude. In Grade 8, students will undergo Vocational Interest Inventory test to identify their interests and the fields that match their liking. It will provide information related to the occupational interests of the students. It will help them to make an informed choice of the vocational subject or a vocation. Internships for students of the middle stage grades V to 8 and secondary stage grades IX to 12 will help them gain hands-on training in any industry, organization or other workplaces. Lokvidya, i.e., important vocational knowledge developed in India, will be made accessible to students through integration into vocational education courses. It will provide exposure to soft and hard skills related to the occupations through activity-based learning related to various occupations in different economic and social sectors NEP Para 4.26 and 16.5. The Pre-Vocational Education Program PVEP at the middle stage grades V to 8 will enable students to make informed choices while selecting their subjects in higher grades, as they would be exposed to the variety of occupations in the world. The activities under the PVEP will be integrated with other subjects and economic sectors. It will serve as a model for demonstrating the importance of reducing the boundaries between the various subjects 187 PAGA. Through vocational education NEP Para 16.4. The Vocational Education Program VEP at the secondary stage grade 9 to 12 will prepare an individual for the job market. It will develop knowledge and practical skills required for preparing the person for gainful employment as semi-skilled workers or technicians or sub-professionals in recognized occupations, self-employment, and in advanced educational programs. Students would continue to have the option of exiting after grade 10 and re-entering in the next phase to pursue vocational or any other courses available in grades 11 and 12, including at a more specialized school, if so desired NEP Para 16.5. 11.6 Exposure of students to vocational education in grades V to 8. Vocational education exposure in grades V to 8 will help in connecting skill-based activities with other subjects, like science, language, social science, etc. It will be useful in providing opportunities to the children to explore the basic skill requirements for the various productive tasks in the world of work. The underlying idea behind such work-based activities is to make them as an integral part of the teaching-learning process rather than as an add-on to the existing scheme of studies of education from grades V to 8. It will not only reduce the boundaries between the bookish knowledge and application of knowledge but will also expose children to the skill requirements in the work areas, thus helping them to decide the future career path. These activities, inter alia, would also foster the development of soft skills, such as aesthetic values, cooperation, teamwork, judicious use of raw materials, creativity, quality consciousness, etc. States may follow the provocational guidelines prepared by PSSCIVE NCERT. Some of the activities covered at this level are 11.6.1 Bagless Days. Bagless days mean that students during those days would not be required to carry books to the school. All students will participate in a 10-day bagless period sometime between grades V to 8. Internship with local craftsmen for exposure to vocational crafts will be taken up during 10 bagless days to provide children with experiences for physical, intellectual, aesthetic, emotional, spiritual and social development in real work environment. The curriculum to be developed by the NCERT will be structured keeping in mind the interests and abilities of the students and the local resources and knowledge to be imparted for the all-round development of the children cognitive, physical, emotional and social NEP Para 4.26. 11.6.2 The crafts of India have been valued throughout time and handicrafts are insignia of the cultural identity of the people who make it. There are specialized institutes, which educate for the crafts and their existence with design. The master instructors or craftspersons will undergo short teacher education programs at diets or bites at the school complex to prepare themselves for teaching children the art of crafting and artisanship. Similarly, the indigenous knowledge generated through a systematic process of observing local conditions, indigenous farming practices, experimenting with solutions and readapting previously identified solutions to modified environmental, socio-economic and technological situations will be promoted by involving local people and specialized institutions. NEP Para 5.25 11.6.3 Fun Course. Every student will take a fun course during grades V to 8 that gives a survey and hands-on experience of a sampling of important vocational crafts, such as 188 PAGA. Carpentry, electric work, metal work, gardening, pottery making, etc. As mapped by local skilling needs. NEP Para 4.26 11.6.4 The teachers of languages, mathematics, science, social science, art, music, and work experience would be involved in the organization of fun or skill-based activities related to the themes that they are teaching. The teaching learning methodology may be based on observation, manipulation and practice. Subject teachers may be trained in the use of teaching techniques that support activity-based learning, including hands-on learning, problem-solving, cooperative or team-based projects, lessons requiring multiple forms of expressions, project work that draws on knowledge and skills from several domains. Students may also visit organizations and people engaged in different occupations for insightful knowledge and skills related to potential areas of future employment. The curriculum load and the timetable will have to rationalize to provide enough time to the children to participate actively in the activities. 11.6.5 Sector-specific activities providing exposure about various sectors may be conducted in the schools as per the provocational guidelines of PSSCIVE NCERT. Exposure to appropriate new age courses may also be provided at middle stage. 11.6.6 The activities related to exposure of students to vocational education in grades 6 to the 8th of may be funded under the state-specific innovative activities. 11.7 Vocational education at secondary stage, grade 6 to XI. 11.7.1 The secondary stage will comprise 4 years of multidisciplinary study, building on the subject-oriented pedagogical and curricular style of the middle stage, but with greater depth, greater critical thinking, greater attention to life aspirations, and greater flexibility in student choice of subjects. 11.7.2 A strong linkage between secondary schools and industrial training institutes (ITIS) and polytechnics needs to be developed. Such linkage is also necessary for allowing horizontal mobility of the students between various vocational training institutions and to mutually benefit from strengths in infrastructure, curriculum, and pedagogy, as well as for improving the employability and mobility of students in employment. 11.7.3 Students at the secondary stage should be able to acquire skills of self-evaluation, critical reflection, career planning, and developing strategies to achieve personal goals and aspirations. Students undertaking vocational education in the secondary stage should receive ample information about the subject prerequisites and entry requirements for different university programs and post-school VET. 11.8 Selection of vocational courses. 11.8.1 The selection of vocational courses with the states should be based on the assessment of skill needs conducted nationally and locally. The states UTs may conduct a detailed mapping of the local job opportunities available or labor market requirements to identify schools for the introduction of the vocational subject. 11.8.2 States UTs shall submit a project proposal for the implementation of vocational 189 PAGA. Education in schools. While selecting the courses for the schools, the state UT should ensure that local skill need is appropriately addressed and suitable opportunities of employment are available for the students. Besides reflecting the needs of skills across sectors, courses that are introduced in schools may also be in tandem with the aspirations of students. The job roles approved by the NCVET and aligned with the requirements of the NSQF may be selected for the development of vocational courses. 11.8.3 Courses may also be developed to suit the local needs and got approved by National Council for Vocational Education and Training (NCVET). These courses may include courses to promote local trades, art and craft. Several new skills and competencies that are emerging as requirements of 21st century will be systematically identified and developed as NSQF-compliant skill subjects for students at secondary levels. 11.8.4 The schools may normally offer vocational courses in 2 sectors at secondary level, grades IX to 12. Each course may be covered in the span of 2 years. Single sector or more than 2 sectors may be taken up depending upon the need and the resources available. 11.8.5 Inclusion of vocational courses in scheme of subjects. The central state school education boards should include the selected vocational courses in the scheme of studies both at secondary and higher secondary level. 11.9 Selection of schools. 11.9.1 While selecting schools, preference will be given to schools located in special focus districts, educationally backward blocks, left-wing extremism affected districts, aspirational districts and in districts with high student dropout rates. 11.9.2 Every school will be required to have linkage with some related enterprise, industry, farm organization, etc. for hands-on on-the-job training. Also, infrastructure available in the government and private-run industrial training institutes, polytechnics, tool rooms, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, PMKVY centers, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Kendras, PMKKs, Jan Shikshan Sansthans, etc. may be utilized for providing hands-on training to the students, which may be facilitated through Memorandum of Understanding (MOU). Linkages may also be made with other government PSU projects undertaking development works and services. 11.10 Infrastructure facilities. 11.10.1 Equipment for the training learning process including accessories, supplies and consumables, hand tools and equipment, and audiovisual aids. 11.10.2 Classroom cum lab workshop. State-of-the-art classroom cum lab and workshops may be developed in the schools to ensure effective practical training of the students. Lab equipment and resources should be based on the requirements of the subject and the financial limits. The states UTs need to ensure timely procurement of the lab equipment and raw materials so that the lab is set up before the start of the academic session. 11.10.3 Tools, equipment, and machinery for the development of soft and basic vocational or technical skills would be provided to the schools. The suggestive list given in the Curriculum 190 PAGA, developed by PSSCIVE, would form the basis for the procurement of tools, equipment, and the materials. The states UTs may constitute a committee, comprising experts in the vocational field and representatives from PSSCIVE, State Department of School Education, SCERT, and respective sector skill council. 11.10.4 Proper inventory and upkeep of all items purchased under the scheme should be ensured. Procurement of tools and equipment should be done through GEM portal. 11.10.5 Vocational or skill labs, with state-of-the-art facilities may be set up by the states UTs. Collaboration with Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship (MOSDE NSDC), local industry may be considered for technical and other support. This will also help in the standardization of lab setup for various vocational courses across the states UTs. 11.11 Hub and Spoke Model. 11.11.1 The hub and spoke model is a network design where an institution located centrally will be the hub, which would be connected to other institutions or spokes for facilitating specialized training. Schools and enterprises can work together for training by the industry experts, consultation, sharing of infrastructure, transfer of technology and assessment of students through the hub and spoke model. 11.11.2 Skill labs will be set up and created in the schools in a hub and spoke model which will allow other schools to use the facility. Industrial training institutes, it is polytechnics, PMKKs, engineering colleges etc. may also be designated as hubs wherever feasible. 11.11.3 Leveraging existing resources of the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship like Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Kendra PMKKs, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana PMKVY centers, Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, and other departments and schemes, in terms of training centers, demonstration centers, and labs which are already available should be done for giving exposure to the vocational teachers, trainers and students. 11.12 Program Management. Collaborations in management will address administration and organizational reforms in matters such as strategic planning and goal setting, increased autonomy to principals and teachers in procurements, finance, accounting, monitoring of performance standards, etc. NGOs, voluntary organizations and vocational training providers (VTPs) working with various skill development schemes of Government of India may also be involved by the states in order to utilize their experience and expertise in various domains, like project management, training, etc. to facilitate vocational education in schools. Besides this, it is advisable that states have a dedicated cell for vocational education within the Department of School Education. 11.13 Awareness generation and publicity. Awareness programs about the importance of pre-vocational education and vocational education should be organized by the states UTs. The parents' guardians play an important role in the career preference of their children. Therefore, it is important to include the 191 PAGA. Parents' guardians in the career guidance of students. Schools shall conduct meetings and hold seminar with parents and students of grade 5 and V to facilitate the inclusion of vocational education in mainstream education. This will also enable the paradigm shift in the society towards vocational education. The schools can take help from sector skill councils and other bodies to organize similar campaigns. 11.14 Career Guidance and Counseling. Vocational guidance, which is a process of assisting an individual to select an occupation, prepare for it, enter upon and progress in it, will be critical in ensuring requisite enrollment of students in various vocational courses and for assisting the students in making an informed choice of courses. It is very important to find out the inclination of the student around one or two vocations to channelize the students, and the online skill-based aptitude test for students of grade 10 will be conducted with the help of experts. Specific counseling drives would be organized in the school involving suitable experts. It shall be the responsibility of the principal of the school to involve the council as resource persons, experts from the industry from time to time for providing necessary guidance to students and parents regarding market trends and suitable vocational choices. The counselor would also inform students about the various job opportunities, possibilities of vertical and horizontal mobility, and also opportunities for self-employment. 11.15 Curriculum and Courseware. 11.15.1 The curriculum in vocational education at all stages of school education should aim at linking the three H's, i.e., the head, the heart and the hand. Head is to be developed for creating a knowledgeable and intelligent workforce. The heart is to be molded to prepare good citizens. And the hands are to be trained to prepare skilled workforce for the world of work. 11.15.2 At the middle stage, children would be given exposure to a variety of occupations in the form of pre-vocational education and internship. Skill-based activities can be connected with areas like science, social science, language, etc., thus reducing boundaries between areas of learning. Project work is also a useful approach as, besides being connected to real life, it involves making plans, doing technical work, evaluating available materials, estimating time frames and workload, adjusting products, and so on. Pre-vocational education will familiarize students with vocational areas and facilitate an understanding of the workplace, hence preparing them to make an informed first career choice, facilitate an understanding of workplace-related behaviors, and relate school learning to real life. Local arts and crafts should be identified, and local craftsmen may be involved to teach and train students. Students who are aware of these traditional skills can be encouraged to help their peers learn. Students can also be encouraged to help in the running and maintenance of the school, for example, growing vegetables, repairing and building school furniture under supervision, preparing and printing school materials, preparing sets and dresses for school events, etc. 11.15.3 Internships, preferably group internships in view of the tender age in school, must be organized to provide opportunities for developing skills for leadership, independent and group work, and so on. Students must be responsible for a specific task and be supported to fulfill it successfully. By participating in internships, communicating with professionals and actually doing some work, students can discover what they are good at, something that 192 PAGA cannot be easily gained through purely theoretical learning in the classroom. Students get an opportunity to know more about themselves, about their own talents and aptitudes, which can help them make better choices later. 11.15.4 At the secondary stage, the vocational curriculum will be implemented through a combination of classroom instruction, hands-on laboratory work, and on-the-job training at the workplace through a network of organizations and industries. The learning outcome-based curriculum of vocational education will be structured according to national occupation standards provided by the industry. Besides curriculum, the training package would include student textbooks, guidelines, multimedia packages, and a learning material. The PSSCIVE will develop the learning outcome-based curriculum for the vocational courses as per the job roles. The state's UTs may also identify the job roles for development of curricula by PSSCIVE. 11.15.5 The state UT governments may translate the curriculum and courseware in the language used as a medium of instruction in their respective schools with the assistance of SCERTs, state school boards, etc. The state may take help from the Indian Institute of Translation and Interpretation (IITI) mentioned in the NEP Para 22.14. 11.15.6 The curriculum shall comprise modules on vocational skills and employability skills. The employability skills modules will include communication skills, self-management skills, ICT skills, entrepreneurial skills, and brain skills for enhancing the employability of the students. A content on employability skills will be developed and disseminated by PSSCIVE. Students would be required to complete a minimum of 80 hours of workplace learning or on-the-job learning. Internship program or on-the-job training will help students in developing personalized training plans, acquiring first-hand information related to the industry, exploring new and expanding opportunities in the labor market, and developing skills attuned to the needs of the labor market. 11.15.7 Developing vocational courses for children with special needs (CWSN) in collaboration with various institutions and agencies, including the National Skill Development Corporation and Skill Council for Pond. 11.16 ICT and e-learning materials. In the years 2020 and 2021, the world has witnessed an unprecedented health emergency due to COVID-19, affecting almost all countries. The PSSCIVE, in collaboration with other institutes or agencies having requisite experience and expertise, will develop e-learning materials for various vocational courses and make them available to the state's UTs. The state UT government shall provide the necessary infrastructure in schools for the effective use of multimedia infrastructure and software, etc. established under the ICT component may also be appropriately leveraged in running the vocational courses. Multimedia and e-learning materials suited to the needs of the learners, including children with special needs, may be developed. 11.17 Faculty and staff. 11.17.1 The principal or the headmaster of the concerned school shall act as the chief coordinator of the program and will ensure seamless coordination and effective 193 PAGA implementation of vocational courses. 11.17.2 The principal, headmaster, in consultation with industry representatives, shall arrange for proper guidance and counseling of the students and sensitization of the parents. She shall oversee the working of the faculty, resource persons, skill trainers, and ensure effective linkages with the industry with the involvement of the district education officer, district industry officer, and the industry coordinator. 11.17.3 Teachers are critical factors for bringing about necessary qualitative changes in VET. Quality research and dissemination to increase understanding of pedagogical, technical, and managerial aspects of flexible learning is needed. Vocational courses will be conducted with the help of teachers, skill trainers, as well as guest faculty on a need basis. Teachers, skill trainers with such qualifications and experience as laid down by the PSSCIVE for each cluster of vocational courses may be engaged. State and UTs have the flexibility to engage the vocation trainers directly or through the vocational training providers (VTPs) accredited by NCVET. The states will have to ensure that teachers, trainers are selected well in advance before the commencement of the academic session. States, UTs may consider engaging with vocational training providers (VTPs) vocational trainers for a minimum period of 2 years through the appropriate Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) after following the due procedure. 11.17.4 National Skill Development Corporation (NSDC) and Sector Skill Councils (SSCs), which are the representatives of industry and employers, are providing support to the school vocational education program. 11.17.5 The vocational teachers trainers may be recruited through the VTPs, but they report to the school for the complete academic year, just like all other teachers. The VTs are not just involved in organizing learning experiences in the school, but also providing necessary support in developing linkages with the industry and organizing activities outside the school. The teachers, skill trainers will impart knowledge of both the theory and practical. The performance appraisal of teachers, skill trainers shall be conducted at the end of each academic session, and their further retention shall be linked to the delivery of quality output. 11.17.6 The principal, in consultation with the industry to which the school is linked, can invite resource persons for the concerned vocational courses within the specified norms and guidelines. In certain traditional skills and occupations like handicrafts and handloom etc. The resource persons for providing training for vocational courses can be obtained from amongst rural skilled, semi-skilled persons in the concerned vocation as per the guidelines. 11.17.7 Specialized practical work and training would be arranged in commercial and industrial establishments, industrial training institutes, it is polytechnics, community colleges, hospitals, agriculture farms, etc. Depending on the vocation and the nature and level of practical training required for the course for which a funding provision has been made in the scheme. Structural flexibilities in the timetable should be made to arrange practical training according to the mutual convenience of students and the trainer industry. For the above purpose, MOUs shall be signed between the school, institution and industry's user organizations. The Department of Education in the state's duties will ensure that necessary instructions are issued to concerned officials to ensure full cooperation of industries. It is 194 PAGA. Polytechnics, for imparting practical training to vocational students. 11.18 Teacher Education and Training. Appropriate quality assurance, verification, and validation procedures would need to be established for assuring the quality of the vocational teachers' trainers. A vocational teacher trainer should possess I-content knowledge, E-pedagogical knowledge, and E-pedagogical content knowledge. They should continuously strive for pursuing excellence through better performance and professional development. PSSCIVE will act as the principal coordinating agency for organizing teacher training programs. The training programs may be reoriented to develop the professional vocational teachers trainers as per the NOS. Sector skill councils or industry associations will play a key role in supporting and improving the quality of vocational teachers and trainers through interventions at various levels. Both induction training and regular in-service training programs on pedagogy, subject content, and other related aspects of vocational education may be organized by the PSSCIVE and state education departments for all teachers' skill trainers through established training institutes, SCERTs and other teacher education institutes having the necessary experiences and expertise. State and UTs may consult PSSCIVE and seek necessary assistance whenever required. The list of vocational teachers trainers trained through induction and in-service training may be uploaded on the website of the State Department of School Education. Teachers also need to be trained on teaching and assessment through digital modes. Teacher capacity building programs, such as the National Initiative for School Heads and Teachers Holistic Advancement (NISHTHA), would be conducted for all teachers at preparatory, middle, and secondary stages covering all state and UTs for training on integrating skilling with general education subjects. States, UTs will also undertake their own capacity building programs in online mode for their teachers on various aspects related to teaching and learning in pandemic times. A pool of resource persons for providing state-of-the-art training to teachers' skill trainers would be developed by PSSCIVE in consultation with NCTE and would be offered in institutions like PSSCIVE, Bhopal, Regional Institute of Education of NCERT, teacher training colleges, National Institutes of Technical Teacher Training and Research, universities, etc. Retooling programs will be developed for the promotion of vocational pedagogy and blended learning. PSSCIVE would organize training programs for developing master trainers for induction and in-service training. Training modules and e-content for this purpose may be developed which could also be disseminated to states' UTs. Orientation sensitization programs workshops may be organized for various stakeholders including central and state boards of education. Special shorter local teacher education programs will also be available at BITES or diets for the local craftsperson who can be hired to teach at schools or school complexes as master instructors for the purpose of promoting local professions, knowledge, and skills, e.g., local art, music, agriculture, business, sports, carpentry, and other vocational crafts. Para 5.25 195 PAGA. Teacher education curricula for vocational education will be created for by NCTE with the help of NCERT. 11.19 Induction training. An induction training of 10 days duration should be organized by the respective states' UTs for all the newly selected vocational teachers skill trainers, in collaboration with PSSCIVE, Sector Skill Councils, RISE, SCERT, National Skills Training Institutes NSTIs and other stakeholders. If felt necessary, the induction training can be staggered over 2 spells. Training in industry should be facilitated by the SSCs. The induction training program should be conducted before the commencement of the course in the school so that trainers are familiar with the pedagogy, school environment, and essential tenets of the program beforehand. The initial preparatory programs for vocational teachers trainers may focus largely on the vocational pedagogy and less on industrial or specialized skills. It may comprise theoretical knowledge and practical competencies in the delivery of WET using the theories and principles of pedagogy. Training programs on classroom management, managing resources including material and human resources, strategic planning, leadership techniques, production methods, etc. may be regularly organized by PSSCIVE, Regional Institutes of Education, and SCERTs. Reputed organizations having experience in this field may also be involved. The vocational teachers engaged in the higher secondary schools offering vocational courses may be retrained to the new curriculum requirements and implementation strategies under the NSQF. This would require intensive skill-based training programs in collaboration with the local industry. The possibility of utilizing these vocational teachers as vocational coordinators may also be explored. The certification of the induction training of the vocational teacher trainers will be done by SCERT on educational orientation, whereas the concerned SSC will give the certificate on skill training. 11.20 In-service training. Special training programs on communication skills, vocational pedagogy, ICT skills, vocational guidance, and counseling, etc. may be organized by the PSSCIVE, RISE, NSTIs and SCERTs to develop the competencies of vocational teachers. Training of vocational teachers on the use of advanced technology including ICT and innovative techniques may be regularly organized, especially to support the training of children with special needs. Vocational teachers may be trained in utilizing e-learning materials, instructional video films, and interactive computer-aided programs for supplementing teaching and providing a wide variety of learning experiences to the learners. It also helps in improving students' outcomes and reduces teachers' burden of repeating the same lesson again and again. Various e-learning portals and apps, such as Diksha, ePathshala, 196 PAGA, Swayam, etc., and TV channel, such as PMA Vidya have been launched by the Government of India. Subject-specific training programs may be organized by PSSCIVE, RISE, and SCERTs with the help of industry experts for the regular upgradation of competencies of in-service vocational teachers. Pre-test and post-test need to be made mandatory for improving the quality of training. In order to increase training capacity, interactive training programs utilizing technology-based systems like EduSIT Swayam may be encouraged. Self-learning online programs, including massive open online courses MOOCs, may be developed for the vocational teachers and students. The certification of the in-service training of the vocational teacher trainers will be done by the SCERT on educational orientation, whereas the concerned SSC will give the certificate on skill training. 11.21 Engagement with industries employers. The industry shall provide support in terms of providing resource persons, qualified assessors, skill trainers, and support for apprenticeship training. The corporate social responsibility (CSR) initiatives of the industries may also be leveraged wherever feasible. All such cases, funding for such components under the scheme will be appropriately targeted to avoid overlap. Hub-and-spoke model and the cluster approach model should be adopted where one particular cluster of the industry will do the hand-holding of schools in that area and cluster. For that, the coordination should be strong between schools in that area, district skills committee, and industry in that area. Wherever possible, industry engagement may be converged with the concessions and benefits being granted to the industry by the central and state governments for their contribution in skill development, e.g., tax benefits being given to the industries for training individuals under the Income Tax Act, etc. Contextualization and localization of collaboration are very important. The local school should collaborate with the local industry. The focus must be on the sectors which the state is trying to promote and which the state is trying to generate the jobs. This approach will achieve the national objective, i.e., vocal for local. 11.22 Curriculum transaction. Learning by doing is the most important aspect of vocational education. Therefore, the curriculum transaction should focus on activity-based teaching learning so that students learn by doing. Students will be given continuous feedback through formative assessment and evaluation on their academic and on-the-job learning. 197 PAGA. Field visit of students may to be organized in an industry, business and actual work situations to enable them to understand and appreciate the real-time work requirements and make choices accordingly. In this regard, the School Vocational Education Committee (SVEC) will do a necessary arrangement in collaboration with the local industry. Special classes on entrepreneurship may be conducted for those students who opt for self-employment. Besides giving necessary guidance to the students for setting up their ventures, the teacher's skill trainer may continue to provide technical support to them for the transition period. Efforts may be made at appropriate levels to arrange soft loans and to devise marketing strategies for these young skilled entrepreneurs. Production cum training (PTCs) could be considered as a methodology of providing a learning experience for linking the teaching learning process with the world of work so that students not only gain relevant skills and attitudes but also the necessary hands-on experience to use skills in producing goods and services. 11.23 Assessment and Certification. During the middle stage, assessment could be done on the basis of clear and simple qualitative criteria developed by PSSCIVE. It is suggested that an exhibition of student work be organized, in case of final grading deemed necessary. A paper-pencil test will be counterproductive to the objectives of the approach taken. To reiterate, it is preferable that continuous and comprehensive assessment be used for final evaluation. Guidelines for assessment at middle stage may be developed by PSSCIVE. At the secondary stage, competencies acquired at each level would be assessed and certified by the awarding bodies, i.e. the concerned national and state education boards to which the schools are affiliated, with the involvement of sector skill councils, assessment bodies recognized by the NCVET. If the SSCs are not in place, industry associations, employers shall be associated. The results and the credits received therein would be collated by the awarding body with the assessment and certification of the theoretical component of the syllabi assessed in the educational institution and the skill proficiency assessed in association with the industry bodies, sector skill councils, assessment bodies recognized by the NCVET. The certificate awarded should mention the competencies and marks received in both theory and skills. The skills being duly assessed by SSCs, industry should be recognized and accepted by industry and prospective employers. Guidelines for competency-based assessment and certification of students will be provided by PSSCIVE, Bhopal. These guidelines are to be adapted by the concerned state boards and the industry bodies, sector skill councils, assessment bodies. While drawing the assessment and certification framework, PSSCIVE will consult the industry sector skills councils. The assessment and certification framework would provide for weightage of marks for skill and theory components, minimum qualifying benchmarks, duration and design of exams, modalities of internal and external assessment of theory and skills, qualification of assessors, etc. Internal assessment of the performance of students will be done by the school in a continuous comprehensive manner. The national or state boards, as the case may be, would conduct an external competency-based assessment of skills of the students in collaboration with the concerned sector skill council, industry, employer. The state UT needs 198 PAGA to adhere to the assessment and certification timelines. Local capacity for assessment may be developed by working with state bodies, State Skill Development Mission. At the secondary stage, the assessment of vocational education could be split into two parts: internal assessment at the end of each year by the school and external assessment at the end of grades X and 12. In grades I, X and 11, the practical assessment may be done by the state UT by interchanging the teachers trainers amongst different schools for the purpose of assessment. The grades marks obtained by the student in the vocational subject shall be necessarily factored in the final mark sheet by the central or state boards. In case student is not able to clear academic subjects but clears the vocational subject in grade 10 and or grade 12 board exams, the student would be entitled to get a competency-based certificate of the vocational subject from the Sector Skill Council, certifying the job role level completed. This will help the student to get the credits for the skill certification. Student support systems. A student support system will be crucial for the success of the vocational education program. 11.24 Vertical Mobility. Vocational education will be integrated into all school and higher education institutions in a phased manner over the next decade. Focus areas for vocational education will be chosen based on skills gap analysis and mapping of local opportunities. The National Skills Qualifications Framework and the National Higher Education Qualifications Framework (NHEQF) will facilitate the vertical progression and mobility of vocational students at school and higher education levels. This would be done through a system of credits or by providing weightage in admission to the vocational pass-outs from schools who want to move to post-secondary institutions, for example, polytechnics, industrial training institutes, universities. Incubation centers will be set up in higher education institutions in partnership with industries to promote entrepreneurship development. Different models of vocational education and apprenticeships will also be experimented with by higher education institutions. The School Education Department, in coordination with the Department of Higher and Technical Education of the state UT, may create more avenues for vertical mobility like introducing B.Walk courses in universities. They may assist and facilitate the students in pursuing higher education in vocational subjects. School vocational education qualifications should be recognized by higher education institutions at par with academic qualifications for admission to diploma and degree courses. 11.25 Organization of Job Fairs Career Melas. The placement of students passing out with vocational subjects will be an important parameter for measuring the outcome and impact of the scheme. As an important stakeholder of the scheme, the industry employers in the area, in close association with schools, may endeavor to conduct, organize career, job fairs, campus interviews, recruitment drives, etc. for suitable placement of students. The services of the industry co-coordinators can be utilized for this purpose. The head of the school or the vocational coordinator shall be responsible for arranging the career melas. 11.26 Apprenticeship Training 199 PAGA. Apprenticeship refers to the acquisition of a vocational skill through work under the supervision of established practitioners. Formal apprenticeship training programs for children who are out of the formal education system can be provided under the Apprentices Act 1961, amended in 2014 in collaboration with public or private institutions. The Apprentice Amendment Act, 2014 Act No. 29 of 2014 has amended the provisions of original Act, i.e. the Apprentice Act, 1961 Act No. 52 of 1961 to provide for age of 18 years as minimum age for apprenticeship in the designated trades related to hazardous industries. However, the minimum age for being engaged as an apprentice is still 14 years. The apprenticeship training scheme is being implemented through the 4 regional boards of apprenticeship training board at Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, and Kanpur. The State Education Department, District Education Office, State Skill Development Mission (SSDM), and vocational training providers (VTP) may liaise with the boards for apprenticeship training of the students. One of the positive changes brought about by the Act is that it now includes the non-engineering and short-duration courses apart from engineering and vocational courses. Further, the Act will not only include apprentices who have undergone training in a school or institution affiliated or recognized by a state council, but other courses approved by the central government. Meritorious students, who have shown the ability to perform better in certain vocational skills, can be selected for the apprenticeship training program. The schools or institutions may sign agreement with the industry or industry associations for providing apprenticeship training, during which stipend may be paid as per the Act. As per law, only persons above the age of 18 can be given a full-time job, and most students in schools who follow a vocational education course and who need a job are not eligible. The MOU between the state UT and the VTP should include a provision so that the VTP undertakes to provide apprenticeship job to at least 70% of the interested students, as per their age. Effective implementation of the provisions of the Apprenticeship Act can be ensured through coverage of additional vocational courses under the Apprentices Act, more effective arrangements for accommodating vocational pass-outs in the industry and organizations, and effective coordination between the various stakeholders. 11.27 Girls' participation. Special guidance and counseling session may be organized for girls as per need. The principal of the school should take necessary steps to remove gender bias, if any, in the minds of employers, financiers against giving the girls employment or loans. The implementation aspects in favor of girls mentioned in other appropriate sections of the scheme would be ensured. All the reporting, data generation shall be in a gender-segregated manner. 11.28 Coverage of special focus groups. Efforts will be made by the state's UTs to mainstream children belonging to special focus groups, i.e. SC, ST, OBC, minority, persons below the poverty line, and children with special needs, with special attention to the girls belonging to these groups. Special priority would be 200 PAGA. Given to the introduction of vocational education in schools in identified SC, ST, and minority concentrated districts blocks. States UTs will encourage and ensure their participation in vocational education through measures like enrollment drives, provision of special facilities, working in close collaboration with parents and community-based organization, etc. Community partnerships constitute localized networks, which bring together some combination of local community groups, education and training providers, industry and local government to work on various local community and community building activities. These community partnerships, which are often focused on a specific region or particular issues, for example, women's small business networks, can contribute to the effective implementation of the WET programs. The success of partnership should be measured in terms of tangible outcomes like number of trainees trained, employment outcomes of youth, and also less tangible outcomes, such as enhanced participation, learning through involvement in partnerships, effective coordination with local organizations and industries, increased trust among stakeholders, etc. Monitoring attendance, organizing remedial grades and follow-up of special groups will be done by the concerned schools. Arrangements will also be made in schools for removing architectural barriers for providing easy access to learners with special needs. The curriculum and teaching methodologies must recognize and address the needs of all learners with special needs. Giving due care and attention such students, necessary orientation and sensitization of teacher, skill trainer preparation will be ensured. Selection of courses, vocational courses, the diverse needs of the learners with special needs will also be factored in. 11.29 Coordination and convergence. Active coordination and convergence of all efforts of the central and state governments towards skill building are essential for ensuring efficiency, effectiveness, and economy in the delivery of outputs and outcomes. While implementing the scheme, the state and the UTs shall make all necessary efforts to secure convergence with ongoing central state government schemes. Interdepartmental committee in close coordination with the State Skill Development Mission may be set up at the state level to guide and monitor the implementation of the scheme. Necessary efforts shall be made to utilize the existing infrastructure, classrooms, workshops, labs, etc. Resource persons, etc. available in schools and ITs, polytechnics, community colleges, and skill development centers for implementation of the scheme. Curriculum and courseware already prepared and the skill development schemes being implemented by various departments and ministries of Government of India and state governments may be leveraged. Convergence may also be explored with ongoing schemes, skill initiatives, financial benefits, incentives, scholarships, etc. On skill development funded by national and state governments through various ministries, departments, institutions, agencies, etc. 11.30 Program monitoring and evaluation. Quality improvements in WET cover a wide range of issues such as setting standards for skills 201 PAGA and qualifications, curricular development, teachers and trainers development, better testing and outcomes measurement, monitoring and evaluation, and accreditation. Effective monitoring requires a careful identification of relevant information categories, of indicators for change, of suitable methods for efficient data collection, of formats of change, of analysis and presentation which enable results to be used by different audiences, be they be planners, researchers or the wider public. Clear division of role and functions in achieving the objectives in these areas require a strong commitment and clarity in tasks to be performed by the key players in partnership. Monitoring and evaluation will be a built-in feature of the program. Monitoring of program implementation will be done at various levels, viz. national, state, district, block, and institutional level. The feedback mechanism would ensure the identification of deficiencies in instructions, administration, financial management, etc. so that the functionaries at each level are able to take timely decisions to fill in the gaps in policy making, direction, budgeting, etc. The data on vocational education is being captured through UDISE+. It is the responsibility of state officials to ensure that the data related to vocational education is filled in by the concerned schools. The online monitoring mechanism through PRABANDH portal has been developed. The data on coverage, performance, and placement may be regularly updated by states on the PRABANDH portal. The principal headmasters may be made responsible for updating the data. SMC SMDCs, local bodies including PRI may be closely involved in the monitoring of the scheme. An online app for monitoring and tracking, sharing stories, and raising issues may be developed. PGI indicator, 1.3.5% of schools covered by vocational education subject. 11.31 Key performance indicators. Access, enrollment, and retention or ratio of number of schools offering vocational courses in secondary senior secondary classes to the total number of schools having secondary senior secondary classes. Or ratio of number of students enrolled in the vocational courses to the total number of students in secondary senior secondary classes. Or number of vocational courses offered in schools. Or number of girls and children with special needs enrolled in vocational courses. Or retention and dropout rate of students from vocational courses. Vocational training equipment or ratio of number of schools having fully equipped vocational lab for each course to the total number of schools offering vocational courses. Training or the ratio between practical training theory, number of hours in practical, number of hours in theory or the number of field visits conducted in an academic year. Or ratio of number of hours of training in industry to total hours of training. Vocational trainer teacher 202 PAGA. Or student to vocational trainer teacher ratio. Or number of vocational trainers provided induction in service training of vocational education in schools. Student performance or the ratio of number of students passing with one vocational subject to the number of students appearing in grade 10 and 12. Teaching learning material or the number of vocational courses for which student textbooks have been made available to the students. Or the number of vocational courses for which teacher handbooks made available to vocational teachers. Or the number of vocational courses for which a content is available. Or use of ICT in teaching learning. Vertical mobility or ratio of number of students who opt for higher secondary education in vocational field, it is Polytechnic B. Walk to number of students who have passed out class 10-12s with one vocational subject. Placement in industry apprenticeship or the ratio of the number of students placed in the industry to the number of students willing and eligible for placement or the ratio of the number of students placed as apprentices in the industry to the number of students willing and eligible for apprenticeship or the ratio of the number of students who are self-employed to the number of students who completed the vocational courses. 11.32 Monitoring mechanism of KPIs intervention monitoring at national, state, district BRC, CRC level wherever applicable to track the learning outcomes. The state's UTs are expected to undertake the following. 11.32.1 Measure outcomes. Identify the tools that will be used to measure the achievement of learning outcomes, such as rubrics, checklists, group work, peer assessment, evaluation of tests, worksheets, presentation, students' portfolio, etc. 11.32.2 Analysis and feedback, analyzing data and drawing inferences for making informed decisions about the further course of action for preparing learners to achieve learning goals. 11.32.3 National level, monitoring at the national level would include the following aspects: or availability of infrastructure facilities in schools for the implementation of vocational education. Or integration of vocational education with general education at the foundational, preparatory, middle, and secondary stage. Or preparation of school development plans by SMCs, SMDCs to ensure that schools have all facilities such as infrastructure, teachers, and child-friendly and barrier-free access with the good teaching learning environment 203 PAGA. Or issues of gender and social inclusion addressed by the state's UTs implementing vocational education. 11.32.4 The following monitoring mechanisms will be used. Or targeted outcomes and intermediate results stated in the guidelines for implementation of the scheme of vocationalization of school education. Or half-yearly and quarterly review meetings with state project directors. Or national, regional, and state-specific review meetings and capacity-building programs. Or independent assessment studies to be carried out for independent feedback on the implementation of the program. Or UDICE giving annual school-based data with school and district state report cards. Or SDMIS giving student-wise data on school progression and outcomes. Or statutory audit of accounts annually by chartered accountant firms from CAG-approved panel or internal audit by state, UTO periodical review of the physical and financial progress of the program through PRABANDH. 11.32.5 District level. At the district level, the following mechanisms for monitoring the program, or district project office will monitor the interventions of the scheme at the district level. Or regular visit to the field for monitoring the flow of funds, preparation of Management Information System (MIS) report and for providing operational support through State Project Directorate (SPD). Or visits by district level committee comprising local public representatives to monitor the implementation of the program in the districts. Or Unified District Information System for Education to include data on vocational education at district level. Or District Institute of Education and Training (DIET) would monitor interventions for teacher education and professional development. 11.32.6 Institutional level. The monitoring of the scheme will start from the school level. The community participation will, or ensure the enrollment and attendance of all the children, especially children belonging to disadvantaged groups and weaker sections in the schools. Or ensure the regular function of academics and practical activities. Improvement of quality of education is a prerequisite of successful implementation of the scheme. In order to achieve this, periodic inspection, supervision of schools to observe the infrastructure and facilities and the administrative and academic aspects is critical. 11.33 Expected outcomes: integration of vocational education with general education for developing a healthy 204 PAGA. Attitude among students towards work and life. Acquisition of new skills and competencies by students for additional career choices and enhancing employability. Better opportunities for those who look for alternative career paths. Prepares individuals for the initial entry into employment. Strengthening and expansion of vocational education program in schools. Addressing the vocational training needs of children with special needs through tailored or customized vocational courses. 11.34 Financial assistance. Common norms notified for certain skill development schemes by Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship will not be applicable to vocationalization of school education and the Samagra Siksha component, which seeks to integrate vocational education with general education in schools. Non-recurring for tools equipment up to Rs. 5.0 lakh per school per job role for tools and equipment including furniture, computers, etc. with maximum O4 sections per job role, O2 sections each in Class 9, Class 10 and Class 11, Class 12. Additional funds up to Rs. 2.5 lakh for additional sections per job role may be provided based on enrollment. Existing recurring norms have been provisioned for 40 students per job role, 80 students per class for 2 job roles. As per the NEP, all students need to undergo vocational education. Therefore, the provisions have to be made for all students. It is proposed that recurring norms may be based on the enrollment in classes 9 to 12. No. Components. Schools with maximum O4 sections per job role at secondary level, classes 9 and 10. Schools with more than O4 sections per job role at secondary level, classes 9 and 10. 1. Financial support for vocational teacher trainer per job role at Rs. 20,000 25,000 per month. 6. O12.00. Schools with maximum O2 sections per job role at secondary level, classes 9 and 10. Schools with more than O2 sections per job role at secondary level, classes 9 and 10. 2. Provision for financial support for engaging resource persons including skilled knowledge providers, guest faculty, including skilled, semi-skilled rural artisans and crafts persons. 1.252.00 205 PAGA. No. Components. Schools with maximum O4 sections per job role at secondary level, classes 9 and 10. Schools with more than O4 sections per job role at secondary level, classes 9 and 10. 3. Raw materials, maintenance of tools and equipment, purchase of books, software, e-learning material, etc. 2.253.00. 4. Cost of providing hands-on skill training, field visits, on-the-job training to students. 1.202.40. 5. Office expenses, contingencies including expenditure on awareness and publicity, guidance and counseling. 2.00. The same norms would be applicable for senior secondary level, classes 11 and 12. Cost of assessment and certification at Rs. 600 per student for class 10 and 12. For schools serving other schools in the vicinity under the hub and spoke model, an additional amount of Rs. 5.00 lakh per spoke school will be provided to the hub schools where the lab has been established, to meet the additional costs of incentive to trainers, additional trainers, raw material, on-the-job training, etc. Construction of workshop, laboratory classroom at state schedule of rate SSOR as per requirement of states UTs for schools serving as hub for vocational education. Wherever available, ITI may be used as hubs. For transportation of students from spoke schools to hub school, Rs. 3,000 per student per annum may be provided to spoke schools. Induction training of 10 days and in-service training of 5 days for teachers, skill trainers including retraining of existing vocational trainers in relevant job roles at Rs. 300 to 500 per day per trainee. 206 PAGA. Chapter 12.